of execration. How dare I say such a horrible thing? How dare I stir up trouble and inflame feelings by repeating such a conversation? My answer is that I do not have the right not to do so.
This is the most deceptive, vicious world. It is vicious, it's full of lies, deceit, and deception.
See, the Jews are all through the government, and we have got to get in those areas, we've got to get the man in charge who's not Jewish, control the Jewish.
Monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice.
The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations.
And now, coming to you from the realm of reason, this is The Fetch, and you are live inside the eye. All right, everybody, from Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, this is The Fetch, and you are indeed live inside the eye. Today's date is Saturday, January the 24th, 2026, and a good Saturday morning to everyone listening up and down the Americas and on into Canada, and a good late afternoon to early evening to everybody listening in European and West Asian time zones, and a good late Saturday evening, of course, to all of you in East Asian time zones, and wherever you are listening out there on the World Wide Web, may all be well with you and yours. It was a fairly nice day here in Riyadh, with temperatures hitting 71 degrees, under largely overcast to hazy skies. The current temperature is sitting at 69 degrees at just after 7 in the evening, and we will be going down to an overnight low of 59 degrees, which again, oddly enough, will occur in the second hour after sunrise. I'm not sure how that works, but it happens. All right, winds are fairly calm right now at just around 8 miles per hour coming out of the south. And with that, you're up to date here on the weather here in Riyadh. You know, this is what they call, I believe, Riyadh seasons. And Riyadh seasons, of course, that time of year where you have lots of events. I mean, too many events. I've actually tried to put in an event or two and did not succeed, partially because I'm klutzy. I don't have enough resources to actually put it together. I had the relations, but not the actual resources. But, you know, I'd like to do something for... something called like Americana. Put an Americana show together. That would be kind of cool, where we bring in like some Calistoga wagons. See, there's a lot of people in America. People here in Saudi actually love America, so especially classic cars, by the way. And but it would be kind of cool. Put on like an Americana show for the Riyadh seasons. Bring in some Calistogas. Bring in some gunfights in the Old West along the saloons. Of course, you know, you can't have the drinks there, but you can pretend. And just kind of have a cool little showdown, you know, at sundown, and kind of have a, I don't know, kind of just a Western show. I think that might actually work here. Talk to people about that. And again, it's resources, guys. If you've got some resources and some energy out there, I'll tell you, I just started the show, and the cat comes. Ling Ning, hi. Hello. Come on. Mm-hmm. She's going to eat my cheese. I got some cheese out. She's eating. Either that or sniffing. You going to eat? Oh, man, there goes my cheese. Here, take a couple pieces for yourself. Leave some for me, okay? Thank you. Yeah, there you go. You know, I give her some cheese, right? You ever do that with the cats? You give them some cheese and then leave my food alone. I got some salmon here, too. Get away. My gosh, I'm trying to do a radio show. Man, get out of here. Gotta hide my cheese, man. All right, sorry about that, but you know, it's showtime. And as soon as the show starts, Ling Ling needs to come around and chat. All right, Ling Ling, thank you very much. Come in, come. It's great radio, right? But it's kind of cool. You're trying to be really super serious on a radio show, and basically the cat is walking back and forth in front of your light here. You can't see her because I've got such a short angle on. But anyways, it is what it is. All right, where were we? Let's see if I can show her. Nope, she's just a little bit out of camera angle. All right, so basically, guys, it was a nice week here in Riyadh. So busy, frankly. You know, Riyadh Seasons came off. It did 14.5 million visitors this year, which is essentially, I believe, the way they do that. That's not going to be tourists coming in, but that's going to be, I think, ticket sales. And imagine that it's a event. Still not feeling well, guys. It's an event that goes from late September, till I think it's about ending now. I think it's going to be heading over to Jeddah pretty soon. And but nonetheless, 14.5 million visitors to all the different things that they do here in Riyadh Season. So that is actually kind of impressive when you think about it. But I've never gone to anything Riyadh Seasons, to be honest with you. Just haven't done it. It's not something I do. All right. Anyways, you can join us in the chat room, InsideTheEyeLive.com. That is InsideTheEyeLive.com. I'm going to go there now. Hopefully everything is going out okay. And I can't see so well. I'm going blind, guys, to be honest with you. Let's see. I don't see good morning to Fetch in the chat. I guess that means you can hear me. So, okay, cool. So that's going good. We're also live streaming on Rumble at rumble.com. Just do a quick web search for Inside the Eye Live, and we will be, of course, monitoring that. I believe the chat room there is open. Nobody said a word. It's dead. It's really dead. All right, I said hello. Somebody had to say hello. So I said hello in the chat room, but the Rumble chat room is open also. But visit us at Rumble at, I'm looking down from the camera, right? Looking at it, okay. But nonetheless, there's a reason for that, by the way, just because I got to keep things out of camera. But basically, let's see. And we're doing radio anyway, so who cares? All right, so here's what we're going to do this week. We're going to do again, I believe we're going to try a second time at doing what we call our perspective show. It's going to be a show within a show. I've had to do some edits and fix things inside the OBS stream to make sure everything was going to work okay, and that's going to, hopefully we're going to be able to get that to go without all the headaches from last week. So that'll be broadcasting in between the live commercials only on Rumble. So while we cut the commercial break here at Revolution Radio, we will be doing the shows, let's say the show Perspective in Rumble. And what that is basically an AI-generated podcast, mini podcast, speaking about some of my early work with the Isisian codes and the motivated design, if you want to be really linguistically technical. But the motivated design of English, which is what I maintain is actually what has happened here with our language. It is not random. It's not all, it's not random. It's clearly not random. You'd have to be a fool to think it was, actually, when you understand how it works. But it is what it is. And anyways, that podcast show is going to actually broadcast during the commercials. We'll largely hard cut in, hard cut out type of thing. So watch for that. And then if we have, again, a very high level of concurrence over at Rumble, we will do like we did last week, which is to do an extended 30, 40, 50 minutes, perhaps as much as an hour bonus segment for the Rumble audience as a concurrent listenership there. Of course, we're going to have to meet certain targets there. I'm watching it now. You're not there yet, guys. I can take the night off at that. But if we do get up there, I will actually do an extra bonus session again, about 30 minutes to an hour. Last week we did a lot of stuff from Saudi Arabia about the Joy event, Joy Awards, something like that. It's basically the Middle Eastern's Academy Awards, and you got, of course, all the talent here in the Middle East. The ladies are decked out. The men are, of course, looking sharp and dapper. Of course, you had a lot of people in their technical Saudi type of garb, and you can trust that those thops were not cheap. Their whole gear was not cheap, but we did that last week just for fun to share what really is going on here in Riyadh. And of course, the Joy Awards is part of the Riyadh season. So it was going live over a network called MBC, which is a huge media conglomeration here throughout the Middle East. It's pretty much in every single country here in the Middle East. So anyways, if we are upwards of 30 plus or so concurrents on Rumble, we will continue to then live stream on Rumble again for that bonus segment. So watch out for that. Chat room inside the live.com. Click on the live chat button. And last, the telephone numbers. Go to inside. No. Telephone number is going to be 213-401-2617. That's 213-401-2617. All right, let's get started. Trump was in the WEF, and I was thinking about the WEF, and it's a very powerful organization. I mean, when you think about it, it's still powerful. It's a non-government organization, and every head of state pretty much goes and makes some type of speech there. Trump was there. Carney up in Canada was there. I don't know if Starmer went. Starmer's kind of a knucklehead. You got to be careful, you can't like criticize anybody in the UK anymore in government, or else they'll come after the campaign against anti-Semitism. They kind of like run the country now. It's like, we are the portrayers here of what is truthful and what you can say. In the UK, we are called the campaign against anti-Semitism. So don't you dare become an anti-Semite here while we are here. So, okay, be careful over there. And by the way, it's quiet there too. Chat room's quiet too, guys. Everything is quiet here. I guess because it's early Saturday morning, which, if you think about it, it's okay. It's early Saturday morning. Let's see. I'm going to cut this stream now, just so I can save some bandwidth. But anyways, Trump was there. I watched the whole speech, to be honest with you. There wasn't a whole lot there I really gleaned that really was all that important, to be honest with you. It's the typical Trump. I did this, I did that, I stopped all these wars, I did this. But he had some interesting things to say, for sure. One of those was like the windmills, stopping the windmills, and the green scam. I had a friend, he's an engineer, actually. He's actually my employee. But he's an engineer. He comes from Egypt. He was flying back from, I believe, Turkey. Well, no, this was my son, not the engineer. My son, he was coming in from Turkey, from Istanbul. And, of course, my son speaks Chinese. And he was talking to an engineer from China. And he laughed. He said, the Chinese laugh at the Western governments because they're all in on this green scam. The Chinese, he said, we don't believe in any of it. We'll sell it, but we really actually don't believe it. We'll market it. We will make it sound important because, hey, we're here to make a buck. But we in China, we are dumping everything green. Literally dumping everything green. We are going nuclear. We want to go nuclear. This guy was, but he was a nuclear physicist. So, of course, he's going to be, now after that, he's going to be vested in nuclear power. But nonetheless, imagine that the Chinese are saying, look, we have zero interest really in renewable energies. It's great hype. It sounds good. But for us, it's a strategic advantage internationally to sell this stuff to whoever's willing to buy it. Now, does it have its place? Sure, I'm sure it does have its place, especially here in Saudi Arabia where you have like 385, 350 days worth of sunlight, and most of that is straight up vertical type of sunlight. I can imagine it works very well. But you go into other areas, it's 20, 30, 40% efficiency. It's not all that much. But people will buy into it. And maybe it works for you on your house level, small level stuff, but not the power of civilization. And Trump was talking about how, the windmills are just stupid. He says, stupid people buy them. And can you imagine you're in this WEF forum, and there's these stupid people there, and he's just basically insulting them to their faces. Yeah, stupid people buy these things. And they really do. They, like he says, they destroy the view, the landscape. They kill the birds. Another thing too is they create this type of electromagnetic energy, which actually causes problems for flight. For radar systems, for commercial aircraft. So if you have some of these farms in the way of, let's say, a landing strip, or off to the left or the right of a landing strip, it could actually cause some problems with the actual runway, with the radar and tracking and all this type of stuff. So they are really terrible. Let's be honest. Who wants the windmills? But the Europeans are basically stupid. I found Trump very interesting. Was that he talked a lot about, not a lot, but a fair amount about how bad things are in Europe, and how he and we would like to see Europe be strong. But how can you be strong, frankly, when you are creating a society, like he says, where the politicians, either they're too stupid, he didn't say that, but he was implying it, I guess. They're either too stupid to understand what's going on, and the ones that do know what's going on don't do anything about it. But of course, what he didn't say is that there's a lot of politicians that know exactly what's going on, and that is part of the plan. And that is, of course, the replacement theory is very real. Replacing the Europeans. I don't know who said it, but a quote came out of WEF where somebody talked about the old Europeans, not the new Europeans, the old ones, and how they are not quite as relevant as they used to be. And of course, in Europe, you have a huge problem with fertility rates. And I'm just curious, what's going to happen in 5, 10, 20 years? Is the younger generation going to understand what is happening? Are they going to double down and get really serious? And I'm talking about both the men and the women. And they decide, you know what, we're going to push back. We are going to have children. We are going to fight against Big Pharma. We are going to fight against our own governments if we have to. And we are going to start to reclaim our civilization and our culture. Ultimately, it is going to be on them. We can support them as an older generation. We can encourage it. We can work from behind the scenes to help them. Obviously, for families, you need a lot of what do you call it? Incentives. You need space. You need less taxes. And you look at America, for instance. There was a woman here. I was reading a story about a woman in America. She's got like 2 children. Her home care, child care bill comes out to $38,000 a year. And I can't even imagine paying $38,000 a year. And then you turn around and you see these Somalis basically ripping off, making millions of dollars on basically child care stuff. And it's all theft. And she says, this is really not fair. I'm basically working so hard to support myself and my children, and the government's just giving it away to essentially foreigners. And then you have Trump talking about the Somalis, about how the Somalis, well, I guess they weren't so low IQ after all. And it's like, Trump, come on, dude, be serious. You should know, and certainly we know, that what happened in Minnesota with the Somali group, that wasn't the Somalis ripping off the government. That was the insiders in the deep state creating the mechanism, the means to allow it to happen, having the consultants come in, selling the project to the Somalis. The Somalis were then taught how to do it by these consultants, and then when you turn around, all of a sudden you're 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 billion dollars lost, basically stolen from inside. How much of that really went to the Somalis? How much of that went to consultants? How much of that went to kickbacks and let's say campaign financing, buying off the judges, buying off the politicians to allow all of this to happen? I mean, think about it. This wasn't the Somalis. Another interesting thing is he didn't hold back. Trump didn't hold back about Somalia. He said, here you've got Ilhan Omar coming over from Somalia. And this is a country that really, and he was like not politically correct here, said these people don't even know how to build their own civilization. Sounds like something you might have heard in the, let's say, the neo-right. I don't want to say the far right. Let's call it the neo-right. But something you might have heard from the neo-right. And literally he's talking about how they can't even build their own civilization. Here they are. They're going to come over to America. We are essentially a European nation. We have great history. We have really built so much, especially in America. Nobody helped us Americans build what we had built. And you're going to sit there and have all these immigrants that haven't even created a society literally try to tell us how to run and build our own country. It is actually annoying, and it's exceedingly, let's say, arrogant, to say the least. Saw another base thing from this young lady. She's saying, you know what, I'm so sick of hearing about how we Americans are like a land of immigrants. She says, we're not immigrants, we're settlers. We came in from, our ancestors came into a virgin territory, and we built a civilization literally from scratch. An immigrant is literally someone who comes over where the settlers planted all the trees. The immigrants come in and they eat all the damn fruit. They don't do anything. And she says there's a big difference between a settler and an immigrant. And the idea that we hear in the media about how we're all immigrants. No, we really are. We're settlers, per se. We have that pioneering settler mindset. We went out there and we build things from our own creativity, our minds, and we help build societies. We nurture societies. And that's something that we have to do. Trump also alluded to that. Now, I don't think Trump is all that serious. I think there's a side of him that actually thinks that. But he's at the WEF, and he says, you're all very powerful people. And, we have to work together to build up our societies and raise up our people. That is what we call a white, I'm not talking about white race. It's a white path type of illuminated system. This idea that, look, there are some of us who are advantaged with intellect, with obviously positions of influence, etc., and we should be using our let's just say our gifts to raise up our own people. And it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're the janitor on the street, even the street sweepers. If you have a street sweeper in your society, it's incumbent upon you to lift people up. There's a little Christian story in that, if you guys want to go down the Christian route, and it's Jesus saying that to those of you who have who I guess not earned, but have received freely, should give freely, something like that. I don't know the exact quote. I'm not doing a Bible study here, but it's like those of you who have received freely should give freely, something like that. And that's really what it's like when you have a good government system. I'm talking about an elite system, and of course we don't have that in America. I don't think we have that at all in the World Economic Forum. I don't think for a second these people have humanity's interests at the best of their hearts. Just as I don't believe so. Another interesting thing about Trump is he went on and on and on about NATO. And how uncomfortable must it be, honestly, for France, not France, but Germany, Japan, if they were there, Italy, to have Trump get up there and say, we defeated the Germans, we defeated the Japanese, and if it wasn't for us, all of you might be speaking German. And it's like, Trump, I saw an interview recently of a 80-some-odd-year-old Brit guy, and they asked him about the war, and with tears in his eyes, literally tears in his eyes, he said, we joke about it. The meme is if our grandfathers understood what this country had become, they would have said it wasn't worth it. And the funny thing is, that's basically what happened here. You had this grandfather guy, 87, maybe 90 years old, asking how he felt about the war. And he said, if I had known where that war would lead to my country today, I would never have gone. And it's like something you hear, a lot of memes here in the West talk about this type of information or this type of thought. It's a meme, I guess, but it's real life. I mean, you look at these soldiers, these men, and perhaps some women too, who went off to fight in World War II, and they come back, and now their countries are completely run over. And you had Trump up there saying, well, if it wasn't for us, you might be speaking German, maybe even a little Japanese. It's like, yeah, Trump, they'd probably be better off, frankly speaking, compared to the elites now that they got to deal with. Frankly, they probably would have been better under National Socialist Germany than they are certainly under World Economic Forum dominance today, or the European Union. You can't tell us that they wouldn't be. Frankly, I wouldn't buy it. You can tell us, but I wouldn't buy it. So I found that kind of interesting about Trump. And Trump talked about how he's, I'm 100% Scottish on my mother's side, 100% German on my father's side. And we all want to see Europe do well. Of course, those of us who are European, we absolutely want to see the Europeans do well because it is part of our culture and part of our heritage. I hear the break, so we're going to go into that break. I'm going to set up. I haven't set up the thing, meaning perspectives, but just give me a little second here. I will set it up, and we're going to go into that break, and it's The Fetch. Inside the Eye Live. Back with more right after this.
YouTube account.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. It is The Fetch, Inside the Eye, live intelligent media for the politically aware. Again, coming to you from Riyadh. It is a Saturday night, as you can imagine here. It is now 7:32, it looks like, in the evening. It's a cool evening. I've kind of like sweatered up here because when I came in, I was just cold. The house was cold. Actually, I worked all day, literally. I just didn't get home until right around 6:15, something like that. So didn't have a whole lot of time to really sit down and do too much. But nonetheless, we are here live, as we always are, here Saturday mornings. And we have hopefully 3 hours of intelligent media for the politically aware to do for you. And if we don't, well, we certainly tried. And it's usually good enough. So anyways, if you'd like to check us out on Rumble, check it out at Inside the Eye Live. So go to rumble.com, then go to Inside the Eye Live on Rumble. I believe we are doing just fine there. I don't know for a fact because I'm not actually there, just to cut the bandwidth. Just because it's a very high bandwidth here. So I'm not really there. Yeah, I think we're okay. Yeah, we're doing great, actually. We're actually doing great. So, yeah, we're over there on Rumble. Again, you can check it out live. And also at revolution.radio. That's Revolution Radio at revolution.radio. Just want to say, guys, the Rumble feed has been actually tremendous. The response on the back end, the amount of times that it's been listened to on the backside. We get some data from Rumble I don't get anywhere else. And I'd just like to say thanks. What can I say? We're very impressed with, it's a small channel, if you know what I mean. We got 66 whole people. I think 70 some odd subscribers. So it's not like we have a huge subscriber base, but we are punching way above our weight in quality in terms of video, average video duration views, average video duration, that type of stuff. We're punching way up. We're actually basically at professional level, guys. We could be doing AM radio, frankly, if we weren't such a controversial subject. We're in the professional broadcaster range of AVD, so that is really cool to see. Now, I've tried to put on a good product for you guys, but it's really good to see that indeed we are at that level. Now, in the chat room, if you'd like, InsideTheEyeLive.com, you can click on the live chat button. And it's kind of quiet there, to be honest with you, but we're doing well again over at the Rumble, so check us out on Rumble at InsideTheEyeLive.com. Now, we're going to just wrap up a little bit with the WEF, World Economic Forum. I didn't follow it all that much this year. I'm honestly really busy. I have guests here, and it's not my main job, so to speak, to do radio. It's not, I do my best, but I do have a regular full-time work, and I've got guests from different countries here right now. The World Defense Show is going to be coming to Riyadh. It's going to be, I think, February 9th to 11th, and I do play an integral part in that show. So maybe if you follow me on Facebook, I will be doing some shorts because this may be my last, really big effort here. I'm 63 years old, so I'm not sure I'm going to be doing this all that much longer. But I will be at the World Defense Show this year, so I may be doing some, just so you can see, just to see what I'm talking about, what I do. I may be doing some shorts from the World Defense Show. And I know the World Defense Show people very well. They're really nice people. Um, they are based basically in London and here in Saudi. It's put on by GAMI, General Authority for Military Industries here in Saudi Arabia, which has gone through a big change in the regulations, how they go about with their military procurements, the strategies, the budgets. Excuse me, the budgets and what else? Just the national strategy. It's a blend of strategy here. It's more like Russia. You know, only America has this strange non-national strategy. It's like whatever corporations can sell you, the Pentagon will buy it. But most countries have a national strategy. And GAMI is going to be doing and is responsible for the national strategy here. So, of course, I am an American, so I'm not on the inside. But I do help my Saudi compatriots to navigate some of the technical issues and provide any insight that they require or ask for. Otherwise, I just kind of sit on the sidelines and let them work. And if I feel I need to give some advice, okay. If I don't, let them make mistakes, and then we can always fix it later, type of thing. But that is coming up, so I'm really, really busy because of all of these issues. So I hope you bear with me for the next few weeks while we get through all of this. You know, between the guests here from overseas and this show coming up, it's very, very, very busy. All right. Back to WEF real quick. I just found Trump, for the most part, is there was nothing really about the speech that caught my eye. I see a lot of memes out there where Trump is going to get all these bases. Well, we already have a base there already. It used to be called fuel, but because that's, Jews don't like anything German, we had to change everything, out of the German. But it used to be called fuel. I don't know if fuel base, but the base there is run by the Space Division of the U.S. military, Space Corps, or whatever it's called. And so, but it has been changed. The people of Greenland are mainly indigenous people. They're not Danes per se. They're indigenous. So a lot of them really don't trust the Americans. I've seen some interviews of a lot of the indigenous people there, and they just don't trust the Americans. They're like, look what you did to your Native Americans. As soon as you get a chance, you would be taking all our rights away. We don't want anything to do with you guys. Trump, of course, he talks about we need Greenland for national security. And I'm like, really? What do you really need them for? You know what I mean? I can't see the Russian. I'm not saying you let your guard down. But I'm like, do the Russians really want to, take over Greenland? I doubt that very much. They don't need to. But nonetheless, Trump is Trump, I guess. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens with Greenland. A lot of people saying Trump's going to chicken out because of the bond market, things of this nature. And that may indeed be very well true. That may be true. So we will see. Really, we'll see what happens with Greenland. He talked about Venezuela and how there were these new secret weapons he used, whereby, the anti-aircraft systems there didn't work. And he says, well, I guess China and Russia are going to have to go back to the drawing board. Now, I don't know, of course, if that's puffery or anything really happened there, EMP or something that they used to disable everything, who knows. But you've had the Chinese flying in lots of heavy weaponry the past week or so, week and a half, flying in lots of heavy military aircraft, large aircraft type of cargo airplanes, and bringing in, who knows, missile defenses, who knows what they're bringing in. But everybody is really preparing for a war between Israel and Iran. And of course, the problem is here, if you're bringing in all these weapons just like real quick, unless you have the native Chinese running it, you know what I mean? It takes a year to 6 months, 7 months, 10 months to really get trained on this stuff for the first 3 to 7 months, you're going to have a Chinese or Russian staff there to actually operate these things. And then how do you integrate it all into the Iranian command and control structure, etc.? Now, are they building a parallel command and control structure? This, I obviously I can't say. I would not know that. But at the end of the day, it's like, looks like there's a war coming. Trump says he's moving all these B-2s there, and he's got all these aircraft carriers heading over there. And you're like, at the end, what is this? Just gangster geopolitics still? I don't really understand what Trump or where Trump is going with all this. Now, he did say that America's doing great. America's doing great. So I had my son here really about a month ago now, and I said, Daniel, what's going on over there? They say that America's doing great. And he said, actually, Dad, he says, really America is two countries right now, based on my understanding. He said, if you're in the market, you're doing great. If you're part of the Jewish financial scheme, currently you're doing great. But if you are not, you're just like in manufacturing, or you're doing other service type of jobs and you don't have capital to put into the stock market, you're not doing well. So it's almost like there's two different economies. One economy are those who have capital and are actually participating in the what my son called the Jewish financial scheme or the Jewish financial market. He's learned a little bit. But then there's the others that are not participating in this, and they're just not doing that well at all. And so he's like, hey, listen, if you're not involved, and he's like kind of the old school Americans, no mercy, no empathy. If you didn't get in, that's your own fault. I worked hard. He's like everybody else. I worked hard. I didn't have anything, and I'm in. And he's actually right about that. He did not have any real benefit here. He worked his ass off. He got in, saved some money, rolled it some more, rolled it even more. And he's doing very, very well for himself, good for him type of thing. So he's a guy that says, look, I packed my lunch. I did what I had to do to save up some money to get vested in this thing. And he's doing great. And so he doesn't have any patience for people who are not making money per se. He's saying, look, and I do know his case. He wasn't a rich guy for sure starting off. And so he's done very well, but he's like, he doesn't have time for the complaints anymore about how people are doing well and others aren't. So he's not someone that you're going to get any sympathy from, that's for sure. But that's what I understand about what's going on in America today. It's really two different economies. So one of the sides of the economy is doing very well. Now, Trump talks about all these factories being built, trillions of dollars coming in. I'm still not sold on it. I'm really not. I'm just not sold on it. I mean, Trump likes to play a big puffery game, and this just sounds like puffery to me. Now, maybe it's true. Maybe all this is happening, and we're going to have a great golden era for the American people in the next 2-3 years. But I was looking not today, but this week, one story came out of China. And China is, they had their one-child policy for so long, and they kept it in play. Then they kept it in play. About 10 years ago, they relaxed it. They allowed for parents to have parents, let's just say couples, to have 2 children. I actually have a supplier of mine who has 2 children. She's got a boy and a young girl, and spends a lot of time with the kids. Good for her. And but she's part of that. But she says, she doesn't say anything. But the thing about China is that their demographics are imploding at a much rapid rate than they anticipated. So now they're like trying to figure out, how do we stop this? How do we get our people having children again? Because we're just not having kids in our country. And it's all over the world. The West is that way. You go to Italy and you don't see any children anymore. You go to, I don't know, any other country. I've been to Italy a lot. So, yeah, there's no children in Italy. You don't see any. Literally, I never saw a kid almost the whole time I was there. You're on trains. You're on buses. I'm not on buses, but you're on a lot of trains. And there's just no children at all. So it's kind of strange. Or maybe it's not. So, yeah, things have to change. But I'm like, here in America, it's like, why are we giving tens of billions of dollars to the Israelis when we could be putting that back into family formation? You know, we could be doing something for the American people. So, although I hear a lot of good out of Trump often, it's what he does. And at the end of the day, I don't see it. I just don't see him doing all that much for the American people. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be great, but I'm skeptical of this guy because he seems to be more and more interested in Israel and making sure Israel has its place in the world, and Israel is able to expand its territory, and Israel is able to control the United States, and Israel. For instance, why do we often see in America the President of the United States with there's no heads of state around. He's got this stupid ass hexagon behind him, this hex, the Jewish hex, because it is a hex. Think about it. Hexes are evil. They put a hex on you. It's a spell on you. So it's like, why do you have the Jewish flag behind you? Why? You know what I mean? Just why is the Jewish flag so prominent inside the U.S. government? And, of course, people are noticing. You know, they are becoming aware of this problem, and they're aware of the anti-Semite label, and people just don't give a damn anymore, yada, yada. But obviously it's a huge problem moving forward. So Trump, he talked about the auto pen. He talked about, most favored nation status for buying drugs, which is, of course, a great thing. Obviously we have to cut in. And if you're American, we have to cut into the cost of medical care in America. It's through the roof. Of course, if you're in Canada, there's a solution for you. You can just go kill yourself. They'll help you. The government will help you kill yourself through assisted suicide. But they're gonna take your organs before you die, and you're gonna not necessarily, go away painless either, because they just want your organs. I'm sure that's why they're doing that, by the way, in Canada. What else? There wasn't I just didn't see that much in Trump's speech. Talking about Switzerland and putting tariffs on Switzerland, and Switzerland has this huge trade surplus with the United States, and they were robbing America, so we had to put the tariffs on them. But it wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't say really anything about what Trump was talking about, to be honest with you, because it just didn't make all that much sense to me. I mean, it made sense, of course, but it's like people are making a big deal out of this. But it's like, what are you making a big deal out of this thing for? There was nothing in this speech, frankly. Just kind of rambling, meandering. He says here, I'm going to quote here, he says, "So together with confidence, boldness, and persistence, let us lift up our people, grow our economies, defend our shared destiny, and build a future for our citizens that is more ambitious, more exciting, more inspiring, and greater than the world has ever seen." Well, that only applies really to the Europeans. It doesn't apply to everybody else from a Trump perspective. And let's be honest, the European leaders are probably some of the most inept, really just inept morons that are going on the planet today. There's something about these people that they're just clueless. There is a level of cluelessness about them. And I don't think you can even argue that point if you really think about it. They just don't have the brains to build a society. They're all in on their little ideology, and they will do whatever they can to push that ideology. And frankly, it's insanely stupid. There's not much you can do with what's going on in Europe. All right. Have you been watching, of course? Oh, this is old. Is this guy still around, Andrew Joyce? I haven't seen him in years. I think this is Andrew Joyce, but it's not. It looks like Andrew Joyce is. But it said here, being a far-right extremist just means you don't believe in a moral imperative to sit silently while your daughters are groomed, your towns are taken over, your freedoms are suffocated, your culture is debased, and your history is used to psychologically castrate you. And Elon Musk says, yeah, that's true. Not sure what's going on there. Don't care. I'm kind of going through my X account. I've got an X account at x.com finally. I have not been able to actually get verified there. I tried to get verified. But because of we had this account, it was set up by a listener of mine in the States. I'm not actually able to. X doesn't allow me to use my actual own data anymore. So I have to go back to my listener. He's kind of busy too. I haven't heard from him in a while. And so it's like, shit, I can't even get verified at X now, because when we originally set up the account to go bypass X, we set it up through a listener of mine. And, Musk is out there. He's been a lot speaking about whites are a rapidly dying minority. And you have Brian Krasenstein, a Jewish guy, says, why is this a problem, though? And it's like, if that's the mentality of the Jewish people, then what's the problem if Jews just simply vanish equally? What's the problem? I mean, after all, isn't that what Krasenstein said? Hey, we're becoming a minority. What's going to be the problem if Jews become such a minority that they become ineffective in our own societies? Should we not create the conditions that Jews become a minority in our own societies? After all, they're the ones that are creating the conditions that are making whites minorities in their own societies. So you got to be very, very careful how Jews, the way Jews, let's say, position things or frame things. If you apply it back towards Jews would not exist. Frankly, they would not actually exist. Rabbi Bubko. This is, excuse me. The interesting aspect about X is that I guess they've been doing some auditing of X. And it says that X, it plays up Israeli sites like 30% more than everybody else. Something like that. And some people are throttled. They don't just play up Israeli, pro-Israeli accounts by 30%. But they can throttle people like me as much as 70 to 90%. So I don't put too much on X. I do a little bit, but not too much. You can follow me at Inside the Eye Live, though, if you want. So here is this rabbi, right? Now, why is this rabbi even in my feed? Why are you even here, dude? Or Rabbi Poopko. That just sounds so Jewish, doesn't it? Less than 90 years after they murdered Anne Frank, the city of Amsterdam is now being covered by stickers that are openly inciting to murder Jews. First of all, she wasn't murdered, dude. Shut the frick up with your air. You know what? The abuse. I'm serious. The abuse that we get from Jews through their misuse of our language is frankly unconscionable. It is abuse. Plain and simple. It's an oral type of abuse. And it's like they just never, ever shut the frick up. Everything they say is essentially insulting. And it's like, dudes, just stop. You know what I mean? What do you mean murdered? Even in her own stupid fairy tale book, it had nothing to do about her being murdered. You know what? She apparently passed away because of typhus, because, the Americans bombed everything into non-existence. And so you couldn't get any supplies back into the camps. It's like, what the heck? So it says here, anti-Zionism is today's Nazism. Whatever. Again, why are we allowing Jews to abuse us like this? You know what I mean? Why would we allow them to continue to abuse us with this arrogant bullshit that comes out of their mouths 24/7? Says here, is paving the path to legitimize the wholesale killing of the Jewish people. Well, pro-Zionism is basically mass murdering everybody else when you think about it. It just never stops. So it's like, you know what? We are go sick of these people and their abuse of our language. Oh, it's the Fetch. Inside the Eye Live. Back with more right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome back. I can't make this thing work on the fly. I got a cat here. She's too cute, though. I got a cat. She's more entertaining than I think me. Anyways, welcome back. Little Ning Ning. You crazy little cat. She's just enjoying herself. She's like in my lap, just purring away. All right, that's it. Show's a wrap, man. I'm going to take care of the cat. She's just too much adorable. Nah, I'm just teasing. But she's just enjoying herself. I'll tell you what. She's just enjoying herself. All right, everybody. Join us in the chat room, InsideTheEyeLive.com. That's InsideTheEyeLive.com. Click on the live chat button. It is still quiet there, but check in there. Also, you can check us out at Rumble, Inside the Eye Live. Just look up the channel Inside the Eye Live. Don't forget to subscribe. That'll make it easier, I guess, for you to find me there. And again, Rumble is doing, let's see, how is Rumble doing? Rumble is, it's okay. It's doing all right. But anyways, check me out over at Rumble. And I haven't, let me go in there right now and see. Let me just kind of go see. Yeah, chat room is a little bit quiet there. Okay, it's not occurring on Rumble. Look, okay, there you go. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah, Chicago Brews over there at the Rumble, and yeah, he talked about Trump talking about how we did such a great job with Operation Warp Speed. And I'm like, dude, you're still stuck on this idea that using the military to murder Americans is gonna like win you a lot of bonus points. Me, I've honestly lost 15, 14. I think 14. I'm beginning to lose track. 14 people inside of my private network. I'm talking about small extended network that actually have died. The most recent was just about a couple weeks ago, just before the year ended. My driver. Literally my driver. His liver went south really fast. And of course, why? It's not because he was drinking too much, because he wasn't. So it's like, okay, that's probably a COVID clot shot thing that, again, that people like Trump. And you know what's weird about the Philippines? They're so believing in this stuff. Their medical establishment just buys everything the World Economic Forum feeds to them. They are so captured over there that, frankly, it is absolutely stunning, frankly, that a people could be that insane. And it's like, you go there and you still see the masks. You still see ambulances running like 16, 12, 16, 18, 20 times a day. It's actually very insane over there, to be honest with you. I really don't like it. It's not the same place as it used to be. That's for darn sure. For darn sure. All right, we got 2 hours to go here. Where do we really want to go with this show? This is normal for us on the radio. We kind of like bounce around a lot looking for stories. I want to speak a little bit first about Gaza. I was speaking to a man today, fairly well placed. He's not ultra placed, but he's well placed enough. And he said, we suspect, Fetch, can you help us with 1, 2, 3? And I said, why? And he said, well, we think there's going to be major problems here in the Middle East in the next 7 months. I didn't ask him why. He just said, okay, he just told me 7 months. I said, okay. And so what they're looking for here are things like outdoor survival stuff, like blankets and tents and things of this nature. He said, we have a feeling that it's going to go crazy, and there's going to be a probability or a possibility, and we've done this, I've seen this actually, we've done this already to the tunes of many tens of thousands of kits that went to Syria, Lebanon. And so what we're looking at now is a potential push by people locally here in Saudi Arabia to prepare for some type of push for the government of Saudi to support refugees or displaced people, really, within their own countries that have had to survive some type of cataclysmic kinetic event like a war, basically. And so they're looking to actually create, like, the blankets and the tarps and everything to do with essentially outdoor survival. So they're asking me to work on a couple things because they think this is going to become something that's absolutely necessary within the next 6 to 7 months. I said, we'll look. It's very old technology, what you're looking for, but we can look for it for sure. So there you have it. That's a local thing. But another interesting piece about Gaza is that, you're looking at Jared Kushner and Witkoff and Bush. Not Bush. I look at Trump and I see Bush. But you look at Trump and they want to create their new Gaza plan. And when you think about it, this is a new model where private firms are going to use your taxpayer money to destroy, let's just say destroy a land, a people. Literally just demolish everything with bombs. Now they're going to go in with their bulldozers, clean it all up. And they want to now build their ultra sleek Riviera on the Mediterranean, on Gaza territory. No governments, no elected officials, no presidents, no prime ministers, no anything. The rulers of this country would be the private firms who actually put together the entire project. They would be now essentially the new sovereign states of Gaza. They would be the sovereign of Gaza. And it's like, it looks nice, it looks beautiful. But who wants to be basically under the thumb of Jared Kushner and these pro-Israeli lunatics? Frankly, who would want that? But that's where the world seems to be going nowadays, at least as it pertains to Gaza. Just make sure I'm still connected. Yeah, I'm still connected. Good. Normally when I hear that click, it means I disconnected. I've learned that. Okay. Okay, back. Okay, I thought that was Celtic. Okay. Hey, guys. All right, I see you in the Rumble room. It's kind of quiet there. Of course, the show's actually kind of quiet, too, so you can't blame you. Yeah, it's kind of a slow show. But, yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Rumble, not with Rumble, with Gaza. I got triple things going through my mind here. But the whole thing with Gaza, with this new plan, guys, is they're actually trying to create a country that isn't a country. It's going to be basically a protectorate, and the protectorate would be done by the corporations who are all Israeli-centric corporations. And that's supposed to be the new wave of the future, and no more prime ministers, no more elected officials. Literally, they want to essentially create their own country where the financial wealth of a people control it. It'd be like their own little kingdoms, if you know what I mean. They're the beneficiary. Everybody else are going to be the serfs on the land. And if you don't follow the rules, I assume, of the people who are running the place, well, you might not have any water, you might not have any food, you might not have any, basically anything. Maybe they just go ahead and shoot you, but they won't bomb you now because they built everything up. So they won't bomb you, at least. That might be a good thing. But anyways, yeah. The chat room is always kind of, my chat rooms, you guys are crazy a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. What? This cat just doesn't want to stop bothering me. She wants attention. Believe me, guys, she wants attention. Where'd that screen go? There you go. There it is. Let's see. I heard that Zelensky, he made a cameo at the WEF, World Economic Forum. I mean, what is it about can anybody honestly tell me what it is about Zelensky that makes world leaders bow down to this guy? I mean, at the end of the day, what a flake. I mean, literally, what a flake, you know? It's like, dude, you know, just, what's the matter with you? Okay. So it's like, what's the matter with you? It's like, dude, everything about you says you're just an idiot. You know, he shows up, looks like he's high on coke, maybe crack, but certainly high on coke, wide-eyed, you know, bug-eyed, and he's trying to say, you know, the Europeans, you know, that we're being abandoned or whatever the case is. I need another $800 billion, you know, tomorrow. Send me money. It's not easy to get high every day. And, you know, the Russians continue with their efforts. They're not going to stop the war. They're advancing exceedingly well right now. It's gotten so bad in Ukraine that 800 or 600,000 Ukrainians have actually left Kiev. Can you imagine that? Your capital has been basically denuded of people. And now here's a tragic aspect of Ukraine. According to some people who have traversed Ukraine, they say that the inner parts of Ukraine are actually just void of people now. I mean, Ukraine has literally been ethnically cleansed in a very real way. And I'm not blaming the Russians on this at all. I'm blaming this on the Jews who run Ukraine. They knew what they were doing. They thought they were going to capture all this wealth. They're going to go use their base as essentially an outsourced military for NATO and the United States. They're going to take on Russia. They're going to get all these billions, and America and Europe is going to invest all these tens and hundreds of billions of dollars in Ukraine, and they're going to be able to take on Russia. I mean, after all, Russia's going to be completely sanctioned. They're not going to have any wealth. They're just a gas station, essentially. They don't have any technology, and you're going to take care of them because all this Western equipment is so great. And wow, look at how great we are. And we're going to have Russia divided into 42 different principalities, and the world is going to be forever great. And in the meantime, the Ukrainians, the native Ukrainians, have been completely gutted. I mean, they've been literally ethnically destroyed. Apparent from some people. They say you go to the interior of Ukraine, literally there's nobody there. Now, if you go into Kiev, you find that there's absolutely nobody in Kiev either now. 600,000 people have essentially left Kiev over the past week or so. So, I mean, can you imagine the tragedy to the Ukrainians? And it's all being done by this Jewish cokehead freak who made his living as a comedian, literally prancing around on stage without pants, playing the piano with his dick. And the Ukrainians are laughing and giggling like, wasn't that a warning sign to you freaking people in Ukraine that there's something wrong with your society when you find this is like funny? And then I'm not saying you actually voted him in, it could have been fraud, but the next thing you know, you know, he's got you involved in a war with Russia, literally on Russian territory, and you think this is a smart move? Like, okay, what type of stupidity is this unless you're Jewish and you're not fighting the wars? And if you remember, when this war kicked off, they had already had underground, like, pipelines to get as many Jews out as possible. I mean, literally, to get as many of the Jews out that wanted to get out as possible. They were secreted out to Israel, and this was very well known back in the day. The interesting part about Davos, going back to Davos, is the selling of the AI, you know, basically AI and big tech. But when you look at Davos, it's basically a bunch of elitists. They kind of operate within but without or outside of a country. They work on their own. These are the transnational corporations. They're talking about cartels now forming, literally cartels of AI different companies. literally. So we'll have all these cartels coming around for AI.
This is coming at an interesting time. Davos always exists as a kind of an island. It's a kind of an intellectual elite confab where they go, and they've been meeting there since the 70s. And ever since they started meeting at the World Economic Forum, things have gotten progressively worse. And they haven't come up with any solutions. They didn't foresee the subprime mortgage crisis, the economic crash, and these are supposedly the best minds in the world. So it goes to show you that they're really not there for the reasons they claim they're there, which is for the sort of greater good of the people. They're there to serve the people who pay for the World Economic Forum, which are the major transnational corporations, the sort of AI cartel that's now forming, the big tech cartel. These are in the ascendancy. So it's like a think tank, Davos think tank for the Bilderberg Group. And that's for big industries to make decisions to consolidate industry and then translate that into political leverage in order to sustain that cartel. So it's kind of a self-producing, replicating sort of system.
Yeah, I would actually kind of hold that to be very true. But what I don't understand is that why do we have so many governments and heads of state going to this event? Look, when you look at a government, when you look at how power structures are built, in theory, at least if we followed the Russian or the Chinese model, no individual within the state is above the law. It just doesn't work that way. So what happens is that the state, if it is functioning effectively, it is always going to look out for the interests of the people. That is an effective state, an efficiently run, effective state. And the state will do that because, of course, we are the state. So that state is us. And of course, then we expect our institutions to be working entirely pretty much for our benefit. And actually, a lot of countries do that. They do prioritize their people. But here we've become so accustomed to being sold out by our elite class that we lose sight of the fact that, that's actually not how it works in the world today. A lot of governments out there look out and do perform for their people. A project like WEF, the World Economic Forum, it has no ties to the governments of its people. It's working literally a private fifth column organization within our countries. And to watch a people like a Carney or a Trump or anybody else from these leaders around the world show up at Davos, it's like, at the end of the day, who are these people? You might have a minister or let's just say a corporation somewhere. Do you realize how easy it really is to just take these people down? You know what I mean? Especially like a minister. What's a minister doing there? First of all, you're supposed to be serving your country. Why are you at WEF? You know what I mean? What are you doing there? This would be such a red flag for people like me. If I were running a country close to dictatorship or king, and I see my ministers hanging out at WEF, when he shows back up inside the country, he's going to have a meeting with me immediately. It's like, okay, what are you doing there, dude? What's the point? You should be here working for our people, going to WEF, just so you can chum it up with all of these, elite wannabes or whatever you want to call them. It's like, you know what? At the end of the day, the state is way more powerful than that individual. The state has all the guns. You know what I mean? It has all the instruments of state. It's got the treasury. It's got the justice departments. It's got internal intelligence. It's got, external apparatuses working, intelligence apparatuses working. What's that individual at the end of the day? He's nothing. And that's kind of the way I see the WEF people. I see them literally as a bunch of highfalutin nobodies at the end of the day. If the states, we the people in other words, really wanted to take them down, there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. Their millions ain't going to buy anything if they're sitting away in a let's say a jail cell somewhere. They're sitting in a fancy hotel like the Ritz-Carlton. What are you going to do about it, dude? Seriously. Just what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do because we the people in theory would have the guns, and what are you going to do about it? The problem right now is that we don't seem to have access to the instruments of state. That, of course, is a huge problem. But anyways, it's something that has to be dealt with. Let's see what's going on. It says here the Iranian regime is engaged. Of course, here's the propaganda. The Iranian regime is engaged in a ritual of economic self-immolation. That is according to Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent. He claimed here rioters have savagely attacked mosques, churches, government facilities, and private residences. Now, if this happened in America, what would we be doing to those protesters if they kept doing this? You can be a single mother and wave ICE officers on. That ain't going to stop you from getting shot, and it's a lot worse in Iran. They've noticed here that there were 10 different foreign intelligence agencies found to be instigating the riots and terrorist acts inside of Iran. No fewer than 10. And I'm looking at this, it's like, you know what? What cowards at the end of the day? What cowards? Why don't you just be the big deal maker, Mr. Trump, and just force everybody to make a deal? And if you're not able to negotiate a deal, learn to live with it. But no, you gotta play all this dirty pool behind the scenes and try to overthrow the country and just threaten people, and gee, if you even speak out against it, you're a terrorist and all this other nonsense. It's actually absurd in a way. According to one source here, rioters in Iran were offered $3,500 for setting cars on fire, $1,300 for arson attacks on police stations, and $551 on vandalism. Is that right? Oh no, murder was $3,500. Setting cars on fire was $1,300. Arson attacks were $551, and if you vandalize something, you were paid $193. And I believe that. That is just how you get people to act irrationally. You want to go make a quick $1,000, just go light something on fire, get away with it, and bring us the pictures. We'll pay you. So yeah, that'd be kind of cool. They're saying here, never mind. It's not important to me. Why Trump wants Greenland. He just wants Greenland. Trump, his bankers, I guess. His bankers. Of course, they're trying to get everybody pepped up and eager to fight more in Ukraine.
We still have electricity, heating, subsidized. They're subsidized for a reason. We know why the country is doing it, but that has to go. We still have, in terms of fiscal position, work to be done. We are right now looking into how we can make the burden sharing of taxation fairer. And it's not an easy thing, but it has to be done. You have to believe in yourself as a lion. So get up in the morning and go, row. Confidence matters.
Okay, if you say so. Let's throw us another $50 billion in Ukraine, guys, because this wonderful lady said so. All right, it's The Fetch. Back with more right after this.
Hey, Fetch, if you can hear me, you're muted. You're muted on the radio and Rumble. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hey, I think now we're back. Yeah, we're back now, dude. You'll be okay. Thanks for calling in and letting me know. So basically, what happened to everybody is I had cats fighting on my table, and they knocked everything over, and then everything went kind of south. So now people are calling up to tell me, Fetch, you're muted. Hi, welcome to Inside the Eye Live.
Yeah, that's why I called Fetch.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Sorry
thanks for
about that.
calling in. You were the second one to get in the queue to tell me I'm muted. I think we're okay now. We had a
All right,
fight. We had a cat fight on my desk.
Yeah, you're good.
And all
good
my
now.
drinks
Thank
went
you.
flying all over. So, okay, thanks so much. Thanks for the call. Is that an awesome audience or what, guys? You know, they're calling up just to say, Fetch, you're muted, man. You're muted. So I wasn't muted. I just had everything unplugged, and I thought I reconnected it, but I didn't. So, okay, it's connected now. So, anyways. Nah, she's now, my cat's over on the side, like saying, I'm sorry about that, but no, I'm really not. You're not paying attention to me. You're not paying attention, man. What do you expect? So it's like, my tea is gone. I'll tell you. Anyways, welcome to Saudi, guys. I was just saying a story about when I was in Jordan. I actually lived in a former refugee camp. Seriously, there was a time in my life where I had virtually no money. I was supported by literally you guys, the listeners out there, and you guys would send me money. And I had one listener, he sent me like $1,000. That actually kept me going for like 6 to 7 months. You know, it was enough money to keep me going for like 6, 7 months. And it was after a big rant about Jewish people, and he sent a very nice donation. It was after the Bob Tuscan tussle. And so I made a lot of money off of that thing, actually. You know, $1,000 back then was a lot. For me, I was making no money. Living in this refugee camp, I had literally terrible, terrible situation. You can't be an American, you know, why are you here type of thing, because Americans are viewed as being super rich people. So why is this American in a refugee camp? Can't believe it, I'm poor. You know, they just don't believe it. And I got the kittens, and the kittens basically ate through a cable one day. They had a little tiny, tiny microphone, little toy. And literally they ate right through it, and there goes the show. 45 minutes left in the show, and I'm like on Oracle Broadcasting. This was back in the Oracle Broadcasting days, and I'm out. I'm done, man. I'm like, oops. Well, it wasn't quite that bad today, but yeah, I mean, during the break, literally I had drinks flying all over the place. All over me, you know what I mean? I had to go change my pants and get everything ready. But we're back. We're back. All right, join us in the chat room, guys, InsideTheEyeLive.com. Click on the live chat button, or you can get into the chat room at Rumble. It's still doing okay. Actually, this is okay. You know, as a concurrence our concurrence, it's doing okay. I'm actually going to leave you guys maybe, and I'll stay there for a second. But I'm going to go check out the Rumble real quick and see how we're doing. Again, this is all new for us. This is only going to be our 8th show, I believe. And that's okay. It's but by 8 shows, you start to settle in. And I'll be honest with you, we're doing really well on the post. Everything, the time listening, guys, is through the roof, frankly. It's really good. We're a small outfit, to be honest with you. We're very, very small. You got Nicholas Fuentes, right? Don Lemon. I don't know what about Don Lemon. I'm not in America all that much, obviously. But, you know, the title here, Trump admin fails to prosecute Don Lemon. I guess Don Lemon, he attacked or he went into a church, something like that. But, you know, Fuentes is doing really, really well. I mean, this guy's got 724,000 views on his show at Rumble. That's freaking impressive. I don't know what his average view duration is, but that, regardless, is freaking impressive. That's out there in space. So good for you. Good for him. So anyways, we have redoubled our effort to try to expand the Inside the Eye Live franchise. So that's why we're over at Rumble. And frankly, it's doing exceptionally well. So we're very happy with the how Rumble is working for us at the moment. All right. Telephone lines, 213-40. Yeah, there it is. All right. At that time, I heard it disconnect, so I was able to connect real quick. I didn't hear it disconnect with tea flying all over the place. Okay, so there you go. I don't know. We seem to be... Rumble, I don't know. Is it stable over there? Does the stream fit okay? I think it does, but who knows? Okay, where do we want to go with this show today, guys? You know, I apologize. Just so busy. Honestly, it's so busy here that it's really hard to pull up the stories like we like to do. But, you know, we always have the fail-safes, and that's talking about anti-Semitism, which has become quite a big topic as of late, even in mainstream media. Not the mainstream. I'm talking about kind of like just as a mainstream topic. You see it spoken all over the place now. In the market, whether it's shorts, you name it, you know what I mean? It's just all over the place. People are really getting tired of it. It's like, well, yeah, we've been hearing this for a long time. So, and you wonder why there's anti-Semitism, right? It's like, you know, here we have a situation where European societies are imploding. And then the clip of Barbara Lerner Specter always comes out.
Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role. But without that leading role and without that transformation, Europe will not survive.
And you know, the funny thing, you know, Europe isn't going to survive, and Jews are going to be at the center of that. And you know what I find incredibly evil about Jewish people? Is they actually believe they have a right to destroy other people's cultures, other people's way of lives. They actually think they have this right, this gifted reason why they should be able to do this. And they think of it like it's like no big deal to them. It's like they don't have within their moral compass this idea of to live and let live, to allow people to prosper in their own way, to grow in their own way, to have their own cultures. If you notice in the West, everything that we have to deal with is always about Jews telling us how they were behind the creation of this, they were behind that. They created this if it's in their benefit. But if it's negative, they just want to run and hide, like the immigration issue. They want to run and hide. Even though we've got the quotes, they're saying, look, we're going to be front and center in this conspiracy. And like, yeah, we're going to be resented for it. So then they want to call everybody an anti-Semite for the fact that they knew they were going to be resented. It's like, so it's like we're wearing this I don't know, this cloak of stupidity together. Like, you know what? First of all, Jews, shut up. Just shut up. We know you're behind this whole thing. You know, now I look at Tucker and he's out there speaking about this stuff. And I think Megyn Kelly will soon, frankly. I think she's going to come over. Candace is too busy dealing with Erica Kirk or whatever her name is, you know, with TPUSA. She's too involved in that to be doing too much. But it just absolutely amazes me that Jews think that, you know, they can call it for what it is, and then they want to whine and bitch and moan and complain when people actually respond to something that they knew we were going to be responding to. It's just, what the frick is the matter with you people as Jews? Are you really that stupid of a people? And in some respects, yeah, I think, yes, they are. They're just that stupid. What do you guys think of the riots going on? I don't know what's going on. But so much rioting, but assaults on, let's say, the ICE officers, Border Patrol, going on inside of America today. And it's like... They're playing this up, you know what I mean? They play it up as much as they can, and I get it. But you have, what is this? Vance, you know, he's speaking out about this, and he's talking about the left-wing violence in America.
There are far too many left-wing people who don't want to debate, who don't want to disagree, who don't want to try to persuade their fellow citizens. They want to try to kill their fellow citizens, and that's a real problem.
You feel
but my guess is the same as yours. And look, left-wing violence is a problem in this country, Jesse. We've said this time and time again. My dear friend Charlie Kirk was murdered by a left-wing radical. The President of the United States was almost killed a year and a half ago. And then again, a few months after that, we have a real crisis where there are far too many left-wing people who don't want to debate, who don't want to disagree, who don't want to try to persuade their fellow citizens. They want to try to kill their fellow citizens, and that's a real.
Yeah, he can say it's a real problem, but the reality of it is that the leftist violence is essentially Jewish-centered, and that's the unspoken angle here. If you go back to the 1930s, most of the anti-fascist groups that were active in, let's say, Germany, inside the UK, that were actually engaged in violence, intimidation, it was all brought about by Jewish groups behind the scenes. There is something about the Jewish community that truly believes it can use violence as an instrument of state. And of course, when it comes into power, it uses the instruments of violence absolutely, to the point of genociding its opposition. And it's like we've seen this over and over in history. And like just to call it leftist, guys, it's got a lot of Jewish behind it. And if we don't grasp really the mechanics of this, and you're just going to talk about leftist violence, and why do you hit us with this bullshit about Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a left wing? Give us a break, dude. The world is so much more complex. Here you are sitting there as a vice president of the United States with all the intel in the world, and you're going to sell us this bullshit story about how this one guy managed to get Charlie Kirk with all this unique, obviously kind of shady stuff going around right after the shooting. But no, it was this one kid that did the whole thing. And it's like the right builds its story on lies. The right builds its activities on lies. So it's like the right itself is itself not serious. What do you mean the left? When you hear Jews saying, listen, we've got 40 people using AI to spy on you. We're going into your LLMs. We're like, how would they get into the LLMs? Okay, if we find them actually doing that, we should treat that as capital punishment. If you're spying on America, we should treat that as a capital punish. Oh, she's back. This is scary. She's back. Ta-da! You're back after spilling everything. All right. But it's like, you know what? He goes off and says all of this stuff about how, they're going to spy on this, and we're going to be in your LLMs, and we're going to be in your social media, we're going to be in your bank accounts. It's like, you know what? This is extremist dangers. This is extremist dangerous stuff here coming from the Jewish community. So don't talk to us about violence of the left when you have the absolute totalitarian outsourced terrorism of the Jewish community right in our back door, to where we're all supposed to be afraid to say anything because, well, Jews are spying on everything. And if they don't like what you say, then okay, we're going to do whatever we have to do to you because, hey, we're Jews and you're not. And that seems to be the story here from the Jewish community. What I find fascinating about the right is that every time there is some type of violence, the right is really fast to simply just brush it aside. They're not smart enough to understand that this whole operation of ICE right now, as it's playing out, is literally Jewish in tone. It's Jewish in strategy. It's treating Americans like they're Palestinians. So many stories coming out about just ICE just going, like, basically chimping out on everybody. And it just doesn't seem to want to go away. But no, I don't want to say that. I can't say that part. Yeah. So anyways, you've got the recent, there's been another shooting in Minneapolis. So the ICE has killed another person. And really, are you there to like take out illegals, I mean, or are you really there just to make a point? What are you doing in there? Because when you look at the videos, guys, I don't see any difference between ICE violence and the people who are defending themselves equally. I don't see a whole lot of difference. What I see is a lot of Israeli tactics, training by the IDF. Literally, I see a bunch of Palestinians on the ground, and frankly, the left seems to be getting what's going on more than the right now. Because when I see these videos coming out about ICE, I can go to any type of Palestinian type of video, and I will see the IDF completely in action, and there's no real difference. And so I don't know what to say. If you want me to justify the IDF operating in America, I'm sorry. We're nationalists first. We are not Israelis first. So the idea that we're going to sit there and watch the IDF operate within our country, no, that's kind of a problem for me. Seriously, that's kind of a problem. But people, for the most part, they're okay with it. They think everything is good, from the right. Let's just go ahead and keep pounding on people, do what we have to threaten people and incur whatever violence we can against them. Okay, I don't know about that, but okay, cool. I don't know. So anyways, guys, yeah, you may have not have heard the caller because it didn't connect quick enough, but hopefully it's okay now. Yeah, hopefully it's okay. But yeah, my feed is typically now just nothing but Border Patrol shooting at people, which isn't very healthy. Or, wow, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. Just saw a oil rig. It just kind of like collapsed, literally just collapsed. So apparently, guys, I'm curious. The USS Abraham Lincoln apparently is on its way to Iran, and it's got hypersonic missiles on board. They say here, and Iranian officials now are issuing warnings that if this ship is engaged in any type of military activity, basically, then they will look to sink that ship. But Trump, he's got to go protect Israel. He's got to do what he can to protect the Israelis. Can't have the Israelis fighting wars on their own. That would not be very good. Just can't have that. It's not something we can do. Let me see what's going on here. I don't have a whole lot of stories in front of me today, guys. I need to find some really good stories. But, yeah, I'm just watching the video feeds here. All these ICE agents looking like IDF guys. They're cowering behind their balaclavas. At least the Germans didn't do that, You want to sit there and complain about the Nazis. Well, they didn't hide themselves, guys. They were at least brave enough to put their face forward. You guys just, I don't trust you guys. I really don't trust them. Probably will get me in trouble, but I just don't trust them. Just you can't trust them. So apparently local police in Minneapolis are trying to secure this scene. Yeah, literally. I if you're in Minnesota and you see this going on, I can't see that you would actually, no matter what side of the aisle you are on, I can't see that. I can't see that you would be going for this, accepting this. Now, a very strange thing happened recently. You have Larry Fink, and if you don't know Larry Fink, he's the head of Blackwater. And, we all know how Jews pushed mass migration on us. And now Uri is up there. I don't know where this is, but we always knew that mass migration or immigration was always there to essentially destroy and destabilize Western countries. And it's a reason why Japan, many countries, simply do not allow any refugees into their countries, especially refugees. We got more on this story after we come back. It's The Fetch, everybody, inside the Ally.
large developed countries that have xenophobic immigration policies. They don't allow anybody to come in. Shrinking unemployment, shrinking demographics. These countries will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And if the promise, I didn't say it's going to happen, but if the promise of all that transforms productivity, which most of us think it will, we'll be able to elevate the standard of living of countries and the standard of living of individuals, even with shrinking populations. And so the paradigm of negative population growth is going to be changing. And the social problems that one will have in substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations.
This microphone just keeps disconnecting, guys. Don't ask me why. I actually just connected. Just okay. Anyways, I'm back. Don't worry. Now we got to go back and probably play that clip again. I'm not sure if that clip went out. It probably did go out because it's just the microphone. So anyways, I'm assuming Larry Fink is basically saying, look, if you don't have a problem with mass migration, you're probably a high IQ society, and so your population is declining due to the fact that you are somewhat high IQ, and so you'll be able to implement products like AI and robotics and actually create a better society for yourself while your demographics start to get back into balance. And of course, the only way it's going to get back into balance is if the kids decide, you know what, we need to rebuild our countries, our cultures, and that means the women are going to have to settle down, learn what it learn really, as men would think, learn what it takes to be a woman again, and start to create children, start to create families, and start to create a better society for yourselves. And you can blame the boomers and everybody else, but you have to understand, guys, this was a massive, massive, massive agenda that was in play. And yeah, I'll tell you, that camera's a little bad angle there, huh? My fault. I can't move it now. It's too late now. But nonetheless, yeah, that camera angle's not all that great, is it? All right. Oh, well. Sorry. We're doing a radio show. All right. Anyways, sorry about that. So anyways, we'll have to see. I myself, I don't know if you've been using AI. I use it in my work. I do it a lot for translation now because it's very good. Google is very good with their Gemini Google is very good with translation, frankly. So I'm able to take a lot of Arabic text. I'm talking about massive amounts of Arabic text, government tenders, things like that. Put it into a English that's very professional. Put that into formatted Word documents I can then send out for getting quotations around the world, and I can do it all within minutes, where before I'd have to send it to my translator. She would do all the translations for me, format it for me, get it back to me, and then I could then send it out. It would still take a day, 2 days sometimes, because we were talking about a lot of data that would have to be translated. So now I can just do it. If I'm questioning what I read, I could send it to her for review, and she will then review it for me and then make any changes and then send it back to me. And that's all really cool stuff. So I'm kind of liking the fact that AI can do that for me. It does help us a lot, whether you think so or not. But it does really help you quite a bit. I want to just do some stories here about our friends here because I want to. What else is news in the anti-Semitic front here? What's news? What is news? People are calling to... Yeah, get this. They're actually calling now to make it illegal in America to be an anti-Semite. Literally, they're calling for people to become criminalized, basically, if you don't follow the Holocaust.
So the way we solve anti-Semitism is pretty goddamn simple, and I'm really besides myself that we don't push for this with all the major Jewish organizations. When someone commits a crime, stop sending them on El Al flights. That will make them more anti-Semitic, I guarantee it. Send their ass to jail. It's not complicated.
The Holocaust never happened. Are you going to send me to jail, Shabbos? Should I go to jail now?
So the way we solve...
See, that's kind of the response I'm seeing all over the place. People are so sick and tired of the arrogance of the Jewish people. The way they think they can... Well, okay, let's just dial it back a bit. We're going to admit that Jews control the country. That is, of course, an anti-Semitic statement. When I look at my Congress, 99.95% of everything for Israel gets voted in favor of Israel. If it is there to protect Israel, it will be voted down by 99.95%. Everywhere I look out there, Jewish people are screaming about jailing Americans, spying on Americans, threatening Americans. Sometimes literally enacting violence against Americans. If you enact a state against somebody, that is an act of violence. And people just need to stop playing the game, frankly. But the Jewish people aren't going to let you stop playing the game. They're going to force you to play the game. Nicholas Fuentes is quoting some Ted Cruz here. I don't follow Ted Cruz, but Fuentes has been been following this a bit more than I have as of late.
National security decision the president has made was the decision to launch the bombing raid on the Iran nuclear facilities. I can tell you I was on the phone with the president every single week urging him to do that, and I will tell you there are other voices within the administration and without who were telling him not to.
So essentially, Israel in America, whether I think it's still early in the game, but I think we have seen a sea change in the Israeli control over America, and it is an Israeli control. You have to understand, if you are still pro-Jewish out there, a percentage of Jewish people are purposely always kept in host countries, specifically to dominate those countries. They could make Aliyah, they can leave, but they are kept there really from a strategic point of view because they want to essentially control the countries, the host countries. So a lot of the people that you see who are Jewish within our countries, their hearts and their minds and their spirit is with the state of Israel, but they are within our midst so that they can control the narrative within our countries and our culture. And people like a Ben Shapiro certainly are high on that list. Ted Cruz, he's a Shabbos goy. He's obviously not Jewish. Maybe he is. But another thing I just wanted to backtrack on. When you basically use the language in a way that is weaponized, when you take words that really don't apply, when you gaslight, the abuse, any type of this style of abuse of the language, as far as I am concerned, is really an abuse against humanity. It's a crime against humanity. So when I see Jewish people constantly abusing our language, I really see, because our language is there's a sacred element to our language. It's our language. There's something sacred about it. It's not some random hodgepodge mish of something. No, it is a very it's a very intricate, woven, multi-dimensional representation of literally the word logos, which we define as pi in our system. So for a Jewish person to come into our country and to abuse our language is basically to abuse us ourselves. And I don't know about you, but every time I get abused by a Jew, it doesn't endear me to the Jewish people. as a whole. And it's not because I'm quote-unquote anti-Jewish. I am anti the abuse of us and our language by Jews. If they didn't abuse us or our language, there would be nothing to talk about. But the reality is that all we can do is deal with the fact that they abuse us day in and day out, insult us day in and day out. Another issue is that we've seen lately is this issue of fighting
Anti-ICE protests are becoming deadly as liberals are disrupting churches and trying to block ICE from deporting literal sex offenders. We've seen 0 deep state arrests, which was a key campaign promise of the Trump administration, and only 1% of the files have been released that would incriminate elite pedophiles of raping and abusing women and children. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi is in Florida giving the keynote speech at the American-Israeli Council on her efforts to end anti-Semitism in the United States. The DOJ's release of the Epstein files are 34 days overdue under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which was written by Congressman Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. Instead of releasing the files and prosecuting the elite pedophiles that trafficked children, we are fighting anti-Semitism and prepping for war with China, Russia, and Iran. This past weekend, Pam Bondi submitted a 6-page opposition in response to lawmakers' request to assign her an independent reviewer to enforce that she complies with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And the Republican-led House Oversight Committee just voted against holding her accountable for failing to comply and release the files. At this point, she should probably just go to jail for treason because it is evident that our government is more concerned with protecting predators from accountability than getting justice for these victims. One victim that was trafficked into Epstein's sex ring at just 16 years old mysteriously committed suicide last year, months after she released her memoir where she detailed brutal assaults by a very well-known prime minister, which was widely reported to have been former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. She was one of the most prominent voices exposing Epstein's network, and her death gets brushed off as not suspicious as the files stay redacted, and Pam Bondi prioritizes cracking down on anti-Semitism cases instead of going after the monsters that abused kids. 0 indictments for Epstein, the Biden laptop, the stolen election, treasonous foreign.
I hope that actually went out. I'm getting calls. Hopefully that went out. If it didn't, that's going to suck because I don't know how to fix that one on the fly. And then I'll just have to not do those anymore because let me just check the chat room real quick. And if it didn't go out, oops, sorry about that, guys. It's just another case of the fetch screwing up again. It's one of those days, man. We never have a bad show typically, but we can have some technical winger dinger, something like that. Let's see. Let me see. Where's my chat room? There's my chat room. I don't see. Did that go out, guys, in the chat room? I didn't see it. Let me go to the podcast. And could hear the clip, but not you, Fetch. But basically, I think it's okay now. I mean, I think we fixed everything. Guys, the microphone, ever since the cat came here, everything is just like quick disconnecting because she literally got water and juice and everything everywhere. So, yeah, you know what? In my chat room here at Inside the Eye Live, we have an international audience. Frankly, it's actually more international than it is American. That's kind of not strange, but okay, I can't read messages right now, guys. Sorry. So basically, they're saying, look, what's going on in Minneapolis right now is literally what they're saying. Demonize first and then vilify, demonize and then abuse people in the process. It's a typical tactic of the IDF, and that's exactly what ICE is using right now. If you can't see that, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead and gung-ho yourself into tyranny because that's kind of what is happening. It goes out to Rumble. Yeah, it's something to do with Discord is what I'm thinking. Discord is making a problem. That's what I think, to be honest with you. That would be my guess. So we will see about that. So basically, yeah, what's going on again in Minneapolis appears every bit to be as, what do you say? What do you call that? IDF tactics. I mean, everything about it is IDF tactics. I don't know how you would else call what's going on inside of Minnesota. So yeah, again, we've had the shooting today. We'll see how that plays out. And of course, it's not going to play out well. You just can't have your government coming in and shooting you. Okay, if this were the American government right now, and this was Iran, the American government would be calling for the people to overthrow their government. That's how stupid this really is. That you've got the American government behaving like the Iranian government, or as you charge the Iranian government to be doing. But in reality, they're behaving like the Israeli government, and we all know how the Israeli government treats the Palestinians. We get it. So some Americans, whether they're leftists or not, maybe they're taking issues with that. But we can't blame them, seeing how basically ICE is going out of their way to essentially make as much problems as they can, rather than just going out and arresting people for immigration issues, which is their actual mandate. It's like, dudes, just go frickin' do your job. Stop trying to make yourself out to be this big badass thing that everybody's supposed to fear, because Americans aren't like that, frankly. And it's not just me. I do see this coming from across the board. Even people on the right are saying, yeah, this is not working for us either. We don't like what we see here. We didn't vote for this. Trump is out of control. And we will see, again, how it plays out. Again, you can only do violence for so long before things start to turn into a powder keg. And Minneapolis, for whatever reason, is one heck of a powder keg right now. Can you imagine? Trump is out there. He's put on Truth Social. It's the last thing the world needs is to have China take over Canada. It's not going to happen, or even something close to happening. I'm not sure China's doing that. Are they really doing that? I'm not sure they actually have that ability. If they did, that'd be pretty freaking impressive. But I don't think they really have that ability. But maybe they do, frankly. Who knows? China can buy up Canada. Maybe Canada's for sale. Maybe. Can't deny it. I mean, maybe. So, So I guess if you want now, you can go to Google, and you can get now a GC wallet. It's the Government of Canada digital wallet. So they've now deployed their first digital wallet on Google Play Store for the digital ID. So that you've got your wallet out in place. So just don't criticize Carney, because you know how that goes. He's a WEF guy. You're not allowed to fight against the WEF. That's you can't do that. So I'm not interested in what you have to say about Davos. Not sure what that is, but Canada. Yeah, that's true. You gotta, I'm going through these feeds, guys. It's just really, you have to wonder what the hell is going on with social media nowadays, because there's just not a whole lot of information out there anymore. It's like everything is curated to be exceedingly simple. It used to be very good. You know what I mean? You could just pull up a feed and everything would be great and it would be fast. You could work. Nowadays, it's just you can't find anything on the web, or at least I have a hard time doing so. For whatever reason, I can't say why. You spend more time researching now than you did, 15 years ago, to be honest with you. It's just very difficult. And no matter what you plug in, it's hard to see. Did you know that right now, for instance, in Israel, it's actually illegal to say Israel is committing a genocide? That's illegal. Can you believe that? I can't believe that. But that's what anti-Semitism laws are really all about. So here is a commentary coming out
Would a
of
group
Down Under.
be banned if it accuses Israel of genocide or apartheid, and as a result, Jewish Australians do feel intimidated?
If those criteria are satisfied, then that is the case. If there is that fear, and if there is a reasonable person test in here as well, so if that is satisfied, then that would come within the scope
can you imagine?
Of these provisions.
Okay. Would a group be banned
So can you imagine,
if it accuses Israel?
Can you imagine in Israel getting banned? I'm sorry, just getting banned because you accused Israel of being a genocidal entity. So it's huge down under. They have a huge problem going on. Even the Aboriginal people are talking about it. They're like not very happy about this. And it's like, what can you say, right? It's just it's a terrible problem that we have to deal with. We're in a very big trap where essentially what Jewish people are doing is criminalizing basically everything about you. Let's go out to the phones. Hello there. Don't tell me we have a problem.
I just want to let you know that. No. I just want to let you know we can't hear your clips or the callers. Just wanted to.
Is that on Rev Radio, or I hear it's okay on Rumble?
On Rev Radio, yes.
I will have to check over the break to see why that would be. Okay, I'll have to check on the break. I can't do it now.
Sounds good.
I'll check the settings because Rev Radio with Discord, ever since we went to Discord, I got a lot of problems. It's not like there's something about Discord that I don't get, and it like doesn't send the break. Doesn't send it sometimes. But I'll check. I will check.
All right. Thanks.
Oh, all right. Sorry about that, but you know how it is. Yeah, isn't that weird? It goes out on one but not the other. It should be going out on both, frankly, because they're the same freaking stream going to each side. I don't separate the two streams. Let me see if this has changed. I'm checking now my settings real fast. Live radio, dudes. This is live radio. I can't do that. Settings. And voice and video. Voice. Cable C. Let's check. Yep, Cable C is working fine. And everything's going out over Cable C. No, that's speaker coming in. Cable B. That's okay. Yeah, everything's going out over Cable C, guys. Everything is okay here. And it's going out fine. All right, I'll check over the break. It's The Fetch, everybody. Back with more right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome back. It's The Fetch Inside the Eye Live. Again, a little bit of technical issues with the audio again, especially going over the Discord server. So sorry about that, but it's okay. What can we do? All right, let's go. We got the final half hour of the show to go. We get you get a bonus on Rumble if we hit some certain metrics over there. So I'm going to be watching to see if I have to do more. Last week we did some interesting stuff coming out of Saudi, which was actually kind of fun. And we're going to see if we're going to have to do that again. My cat here doesn't want, because she is like saying, okay, you're going to go, okay, that's good. Sit there. That's good. No, really, that's good. She's like, come on, man, I'm hungry. Time to eat. Anyways, final half hour of the show, so we got to pick this up to see what's going on. All right, there's been a lot of charges. Let's be honest, guys. There's been a lot of charges about, quote unquote, I'm trying to get the mic here. All right. A lot of charges about anti-Semitism, white supremacy, white nationalism. I don't know, whatever phrases you can think of. You probably heard of a lot of it. And it's like, why do we hear all of these things? And a lot of people in the white community, they really don't understand that there's actually a war really against white civilization, European civilization. And for whatever reason, we can't explain it. We don't know. We can only think it's metaphysical at some level. But Jewish people hate our culture. They hate our civilization. They hate our genius, maybe. They hate the fact that we have created such a beautiful, we did create at least, such a beautiful civilization that they could never, in their wildest dreams, ever hope to emulate. Jews are not that smart, guys. They know how to cheat. They know how to lie. They know how to steal sometimes, but they can't build a civilization. I mean, look through history. Show me the great genius of Jewish civilization. I see Roman ruins. I'll see things from Stonehenge and things that are, went on inside of the UK. What else? Of course, the Germans, and then of course we have the Goth cathedrals. People argue that was really Tartaria. That's not really that. It's not really the French Freemasons. That was Tartaria, Fetch. Come on. But nonetheless, you look at things like Notre Dame and issues that we know are certainly linked to the Christian faith. There is nothing, folks. Let's be honest. There is nothing about Jewish culture, Jewish intellect that actually leaves a lasting impression on humanity. What they do very well is destroy cultures. Look what they did in the Soviet Union, for instance. You know, people get it. Look what happened in Armenia. Look what happened in China. You know, wherever Jews plant their flag, genocide and death soon follows. And my theory, and it's only a theory, but the reason why they do that is because they really hate the beauty that Western civilization was able to create. Now, does that mean they hate, the Japanese style of beauty? I'm sure they hate it just as well. Japanese have their own little stories about Jewish people. And it's like, Jews aren't just the Ashkenazis. They're like the worst of the worst, in my opinion. But it's not just the Ashkenazis. It's something about the culture that simply does not allow them to appreciate beauty on the planet as a general rule. That, of course, you know, you can always find your exceptions. But as a general rule. But if you look at America, you look at Germany, you look at France, you look at the UK, these are technically, you would think, white countries, right? Run by white people, right? So why would we tolerate in our own countries, if we ran them, a small minority essentially creating laws that are there to terminate us, to vilify us, to imprison us, because we disagree with the psychopathy of this small minority. So many whites, they just don't believe there's this war going on. And they don't seem to get that, you know, if you're attacked for expressing this danger in our society, somehow demonizing you is okay. It's like, but they just don't get what's going on. But as you can see today, and it was true 20 years ago and true 100 years before that, is that all of this charge of rising anti-Semitism and white supremacy, these allegations, first they're an abuse, they're abusive, but they're not coming from white culture. They're coming from another culture, from a foreign culture. Why would we as a white people talk about white supremacy, for instance? That's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I would have to probably spend, I don't know, 16 years on a kibbutz somewhere to start to buy into this logic. You know, it's really hard for me to say because I'm white, I believe in white supremacy and of course it's given this negative connotation. That's the key point here. Now, if you want to say white supremacy means that we have created a superior civilization, we gave to humanity an inordinate amount of benefit over centuries, literally, that we created one of the most impressive language systems in the world, which is English, and which nothing to you, my friends in France and Ottawa and Germany and everywhere else, but the fact of the matter is that this language, it is one of the most pristine, let's just say, esoteric languages on the planet. And it was created by us, not by Jewish people. Jewish people are off there with their little Kabbalah, like, oh, Yod He Vod He equals 26. Since when does YHVH equal 26, you morons? So why would you graft English onto Hebrew? And I really think when it boils down to is that at a super transdimensional level, the war against Western civilization is really a war against our system of, let's just say, thought, categorization, our alphabets. They all share something very in common. Now, English didn't have a whole lot to offer the world when it came to science and inventions and things of that nature. But what they did bring to the world was this English creation. And then, of course, they used that to spread it all over the world. And that became, of course, this great effort to name the world in English. And Jews despised this absolute ingenuity. Did they come along with us? Yeah, they're like leeches. They're with us everywhere we go. And did they abuse us by basically using our militaries of the old days to enslave and enrich the bankers in London? Sure they did. 100% they did. But why would the allegations of white supremacy even be in our culture? Think about it. We're a country, you go to the UK, which is still pretty much predominantly white from what I understand. Why would there be all these allegations from the media, from the press, from the government about white supremacy in a country that theoretically white people run and control? Why? I mean, why would we even allow that to happen? Why would we allow these charges of quote-unquote anti-Semitism be bringing up when it harms us as a culture, as a civilization? Why would we allow that? And the answer is very simple. It's because we don't control our own countries. We've never controlled our own countries. And the truth of the matter is that when you see rising anti-Semitism, that is the very root, the very start of the total decay of your country. It's not because the anti-Semitism is the part of the decay. It's the fact that Jews have come to control the entirety of the country. And the only way to get out of the decay is to become politically against that which is the cause of the decay. And of course, what do Jews do? They want to now criminalize, use lawfare, whatever they can do to keep you from criticizing them. You know, this was something we spoke about a long time ago in about the UK, not in, but about the UK. The number of people that were denied seats in local councils, etc., simply because they had quote-unquote anti-Semitic views. Well, why would we do that in a country if we ran it? Why would that even be important to us? It's not. So what if they're anti-Semitic? Jews have their own way. They're still foreigners in our lands. By their own admission, by the way. This isn't like we made it up. Their religious texts say they're foreigners. Their religious texts say that they belong to a land that God granted to them. So they're guests in our countries by their own volition. They have used their incredible nepotism and organizational skills to essentially capture our media, our language, and this is where the true battle is actually being fought right now. It's in the language. But they capture the media, language, finance, law, academia. You know, I was famous for creating the Isisian codes. And what that is a motivated design that shows you exactly how English is fused to pi and a mathematical formulation based on sound. For instance, if I do this Sci-Fi pattern, a Plutarchian shift at 16, if you read Plutarch, yeah, I know you got to do a little bit digging in the classics, but if you read Plutarch, he talks about how the adepts ingested these 16 compounds. Well, if you shift your alphabet at 16, can you tell me why B and R would align at 2? And why the verb to be, which is irregular, conjugates to R, and they're both located at number 2, or now C and S are going to be the same, and D and T are going to be the same, and E and U are going to be the same, and the labials of F and V are going to be the same. Like, this is all just an accident. And I got this information from a book called Starshift, 1948, and they were using, that guy used the same Plutarch book that I use. It's, in other words, he's using on Isis and Osiris, and I was. He drew it from the part about the pyramids. I drew it from the part about the Sci-Fi pattern. But both of us figured, okay, and he was before me, but there's this 16-letter shift. And when we do all this, we understand that Jews are idiots. Everything about what they tell us is abusive. The idea that they can sit there and call us, quote-unquote, anti-Semites in our own country. It's not your country, dude. So what you're telling us is that you run the country. And the more you run the country, the worse our countries get. And the more it begins to implode. So the general masses, and we're reaching that state now, the general masses, they're starting to say, wow, where's the problem? The guys have been telling you about the problem for years and years and years and years, like us. We've been vilified, we've been neutralized, we've been marginalized, we've been assaulted, we've been attacked, we've been whatever you can call it, but we kept going. Because ultimately, what is the other choice we have? Ultimate surrender? Because if we, as we say from Delamere Devereux, if we take out this little small kernel of truth and we put it on top of this mountain of lies that Jews have created for us, that little thing of truth is going to reverberate for quite a long time, and it's going to affect society in ways that we never even know how it happens. So having this confidence and faith in what we're doing, we continue to elevate this theory. Society isn't going to collapse or decay because of the anti-Semitism. It means that Jews have brought about the collapse and the decay, and the only way out of it is to return back to your civil roots, let's say your cultural roots, and that's not Jewish. I mean, you can't be English and say you're Jewish. You can't be Chinese and say you're Jewish. You can't be Japanese and say you're Jewish. You can't be any culture and say you're Jewish, because then you're not your culture anymore. And what's happened in our countries is that we're controlled by this foreign elite. They want to impose their views of our language onto us. They want to abuse us with our language day in and day out. The very charge, folks, of anti-Semitism is an abuse of our language. The very charge of xenophobia, that's an abuse of our language. It's designed to make you go on the defensive. For what? Oh, because Jews created a law in 1917 that said that if you're an anti-Semite, it's an immediate death sentence. And Trump's up there saying, you know what, it'd be kind of nice if we could get a death sentence for the anti-Semites out there. Like, okay, but who does that? Trump's going to say, well, I'm part Irish, or no, I'm part Scotch and I'm part German. Dude, then act like it. Don't behave as if you're there just to serve Jews in the state of Israel. This, believe me, folks, will be the downfall of a Trump, because he sided with the wrong side of history. He had the chance, well, actually, I don't think he's got the skill, but he had the chance, perhaps, to do something positive. A year and a month into this, where's your Bondi? Where's your Attorney General Bondi and Epstein? Oh, you're out there just to protect your big buddies, right? Is that kind of how it all works, Trump? See, the guy just refuses to actually deal with the issue. In fact, he's playing Mr. Cover-Up. He gives jobs out to people that are longtime vocal advocates for Israel. You got Leo Terrell out of L.A. He's like in charge of, I don't know, the Department of Justice something for anti-Semitism. Who knows what this guy's doing? Getting paid too much money. Dan the deer in the headlight Bongino. Okay, yeah, this thing kills himself. Okay, yeah, whatever, dude. It just doesn't seem, honestly, to want to go away when you start to study all of this stuff. Let's see. I have some information here about Gaza. Oh, hey, come back here. Come back here. Where'd you go? It disappeared. It disappeared. Man, where'd you guys go? I just had you. It disappeared. Okay, I had some data. It's actually kind of interesting. I think I gotta do this. Click once. Click, nope. Click this way and click this way. No. Okay, it flew away. Damn. I actually had the breakdown of the board of the board of directors for the new peace plan. In Gaza, like President Trump is here, Rubio's here, all these Jews are over here, all these Jews are over here, and they're going to be basically giving the Palestinians freedom. Yeah, right. Okay, Pam Bondi, she's going to be focusing again more on anti-Semitism. She's going to be out there suing a coffee shop owner for anti-Semitism as Jews finance and organize violent riots around. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's my buddy. All right, good for you,
The
dude.
mastermind, he met his piece when Israel took him out.
After the October 7th anniversary, that horrific day, the anniversary of October 7th, after that, they added new
Doesn't go
drinks
out
to
over.
the menu. One was Sweet Sinoir, in honor, a tribute to the leader
Can you
of
imagine? Wait a minute. Wait, whoa. You've got the government of the United States going after a person who runs a coffee shop because they made a coffee blend called Sweet Sinoir. And because Sinoir was one of the guys that Jews executed, that somehow that's anti-Semitism. You're really using the Department of Justice to go after people like this? Isn't this freaking bizarre that Jews control our country so much that we're going after a coffee shop owner? A coffee shop owner for putting something called Sweet Sinoir, and that is like at going to the very top of the U.S. legal system, and Pam Bondi's giving a press conference on Fox News or a statement on Fox News about this? Are these people honestly out of their freaking minds? Wow. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Unbelievable. So essentially, I can't play clips because of, at least for anyone here, because it's not going out over, what do you call it? It's not going out over Rev Radio. But Kristi Noem also, right? Noem. She's also now just recently announced her intent to implement, quote unquote, a nationwide anti-Semitism laws. Or just implement nationwide anti-Semitism law. She says here, Secretary of DHS Noem will weaponize the federal law enforcement and use them against the American citizens who, guess what, are not in favor of Israel. Now, if you don't see that our country is governed and controlled by the Israelis, and all of these people are nothing but plants for Israel, I'm sorry. You know what? You're not going to win your country back very soon. And I'm not saying it's an easy way to get out of this mess, but the reality right now is Jews are buying the politicians. They're admitting it. They're talking about how they do it. Oh, well, we got to form relationships with them and make sure that $50 million buys what we want. But it's like, come on, guys. I can't even say this. Yeah, good for InfoStormer. He's all over this. Damn, dude. I do a search, and if you don't know InfoStormer, excuse me, this is Lee Rogers from Oracle Broadcasting, former owner of Oracle Broadcasting. And I typed in just anti-Semitism, and it's just got InfoStormer after InfoStormer post. No wonder it's so good. All right, good job, dude. So anyways, Jonathan Greenblatt is basically saying that he's been working with the Trump administration to craft and implement policies to combat anti-Semitism. So you've got the Department of Justice going after a coffee shop owner. We have the DHS, which is rumored to actually have a headquarters in like Tel Aviv, something like that. And then you have the ADL saying, look, we're working with the government to find ways to better implement anti-Semitic or laws that will get anti-Semites. And it's like, okay, this is actually getting to be serious stuff here because America is really an occupied country. So the idea here is that in America, we have to recognize Zionism as being a legitimate system that says Jews get to have their own right to self-determination. So when it comes to our countries, you're an anti-Semite, though, if you want to have your own right to your own self-determination, and therefore they get to jail you because they get to control Israel and they get to control you. See, you have to give on both sides here. You can't just give on one side. You got to give on both sides. They get to kill. They get to have their cake and they get to eat it too. So yeah, it's just the anti-Semitism, guys, is going to be a fascinating story, I think, in 2026, because we're seeing that Jewish people are like intent on criminalizing the American people. Now, they may get some traction to start with. I'm betting that over time, the American people are going to turn on Israel. They're going to turn on politicians who are for Israel. They're going to turn on Jewish groups who are pushing this stuff. Listen, ADL, not only should it be forced to register as a foreign lobby, but we should have the name of all the donors. We should regard these donors as enemies of the American people, sponsoring a foreign state at the negative or the detriment of the United States of America and her people. And we should not back down from this position, because in our opinion, that is exactly what is happening. So essentially now, Australia is saying it is illegal now, apparently, in their own way, to criticize the Israelis. And we're out of break. We're out of time. All right, everybody. I think we are out of time, and I think I get to escape and go home. We're not very high over there at the Rumble, so I get to escape. All right, it's The Fetch. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you all next week. Good night, everybody. All right, everybody. Welcome back. It is The Fetch, Inside the Eye Live, with the bonus edition of Inside the Eye Live for Saturday, January the 24th, 2026. I forgot to mention the what do you call it? The listener-sponsored supporter radio today. So many problems over there today with the Rev Radio feed. What can I say? I believe we have clips going out for you guys, which is actually really, really cool, because maybe I can cheat a little and use some quotes and stuff here from whatever news is on there. But nonetheless, welcome back. I'm going to just say hello there. Thank you, guys. Hello, and welcome to welcome to the bonus show. All right, welcome back, guys. All right, so thanks, guys. Where are we? Yeah, we're up to 35 now. Okay, that's great. What we're looking to do, first of all, we want to thank everybody for coming over here. Well, I really thought we wouldn't be very well received. I'd do it for 3-4 weeks and I'd quit. But really, behind the scenes, guys, it's really doing really well. So I want to thank everybody straight up. I got to start to look at the camera a little bit more. But right now it's too high. It's like, wow, it's way up there. I got to go like this. Hello there. Welcome, everybody. I'm not a video guy. I'm a radio guy. And to be honest with you, my metrics are radio, like top quality radio. I should be doing AM radio, to be honest with you. And I put out a thought about the AM radio feed, right? Because of my voice and metric and time and the way we can hold the audience is at AM quality, right? And it's like, I can't do it because my... Yeah, I can't. Yeah, see, I can't go that high. But I can't do it is because, literally, my content is like too controversial. Can you imagine me being on AM radio in America? Maybe we could get away with it now. Maybe. I'm not sure. We could try. But, an AD, man, I'll get you a good audience, We'll be there. We'll be putting out some good stuff for you. Just that you're gonna have to deal with the anti-Semitism charges. Oops. But nonetheless, guys, it's been a nice day. First of all, here in Saudi, weather was pretty good. It was overcast. Actually, it wasn't cold. It was actually fairly warm today. Last night we froze our asses off. Frankly, it was 61 with a real feel, with the wind of 47. And then it just kind of eats up your house a little bit, and it makes it very difficult. But nonetheless, overall, it was a pretty good day today, and it's not going to be such a cool night either. The winds are not so high tonight, so it's going to be a nice day here in Riyadh. Nice night. All right, let's go. Let's carry on with the anti-Semitism charges. Where are we at here? Yeah, right here. You had Ronald Lauder. He's president of the World Jewish Council, or World Jewish Congress. And he literally says that any candidate in the U.S., the World Jewish Council, okay, the World Jewish Congress is saying, we're going to target you. And can you imagine the chutzpah of these people?
Any candidate running for a seat in this building, whether for Congress or Senate, whose platform includes anti-Semitism, we will target them as they target us. Accordingly, we will start a fund to help their opponents. We cannot possibly sit by and let anti-Zionists determine our future. None of this will be easy.
But here's the thing, and I think the Jewish people need to start to understand this. If you come at the American people, or any Western nation, and you literally make physical threats about our government, that somehow our government has to be perfectly in line with Jewish bullshit, basically, all right? It's like we have to listen to Jews, we have to obey them, and we have to do what they say. And he's literally saying, we're going to target you. We're going to fund your opposition. Well, then you're in a dogfight. The bottom line, you are in a dogfight. You need to target every single pro-Jewish person out there. Everybody who is for the Jewish people, they need to be targeted. This is a dogfight. Now, first of all, you need, whether you like politics or not, it's a dirty, 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 dirty game. All right? The other side plays really dirty. All right? Really, really, really dirty. They'll buy off your competitors. They'll buy off whatever they can do. They'll buy off whatever. It's dirty money. They will not give up power easily, period. And respect that. They're not going to give it up. They're going to do whatever they can to continue to oppress the people of this planet, because that's really what this is about. Oppressing the people of the planet. If you're going to sit there and be the head of the American Jewish Congress, and you're going to say, we're going to go target whatever justifies an anti-Semite, that's abuse of our language once again. What you're saying is that any town anywhere that doesn't fall in line with what Lauder wants cannot have their own voice in Congress anymore. And if you've listened to this show for a lot of years, we've been saying this about the British form of government for a very long time. Every time a rational voice about Judaism and Jews rises up to the top and anywhere within Jewish or British politics, they're immediately railroaded out. They're forced to apologize. They're forced to give up their council seats. They're forced out of office. So essentially, all you have left in Israel or the UK is Israeli-centric politicians, anti-white politicians. Now, Lauder is going to sit there and now declare war on the United States. Do you realize when you really start paying attention over the past, let's say, month to 2 months, we have there nothing but declarations of war, political war by Jewish people, Jewish organizations in the United States for the last, 2 months? From the ADL to Lauder to Bondi to Trump, you name it, it's all about anti-American, Israel first type of agendas out there. Now, he's saying it's not going to be easy. It's going to be quite difficult.
It will take time and effort from all of us. And Jews cannot fight this fight alone. Frankly, we shouldn't have to, because this is not a Jewish issue. It's a democratic issue. It's a moral issue. It's a human issue.
You're right. It is a human issue, but don't abuse our language. You're using the term completely wrong. It has nothing to do with you Jews being preeminent within our countries. That's an abuse. That's an affront to logic. It's an affront to decency. It's actually an affront to common sense. If Jews want to go off and do their own thing in their own country, listen, the truth of the matter is that Jews have been kicked out of every country they've ever gone into. So no matter how you look at it, they're a guest. Whether they like to admit it or not, on a grand social, let's say a grand social construct, they are literally guests by their own mythological creation, their own construct. They're a guest. They were kicked out here. They were kicked out there. They were kicked out here. Why? Oh, gee, because I'm just an idiot. Well, no. That's anti-Semitic. Whatever, dude. It doesn't matter. You're an idiot. Okay? It doesn't matter. So you're a guest. When you come into a guest home, you don't tell people how to run their home. Can you imagine walking into somebody's home and the next thing you know, you're saying, don't put your feet up on that couch. Don't wear your shoes in the house. Take off your socks. Make sure that you, I don't know, put your towel folded this way when you leave it in the bathroom. Make sure that you close the refrigerator door, but you make sure that when you do that, all the drinks are towards the center because I don't like my cheap wine to come like crashing down or something because you had it too far out. Can you just listen to me because I'm Jewish and I'm in your house? I mean, can't you do that? I mean, after all, I'm Jewish, right? I mean, you got to listen to me. And they're in your house. It's like, what do you want to do? You want to kick them out. You're not going to put up with that nonsense over time. And that's what they expect you to do. Can you imagine? I'm in a small town, I don't know, in Missouri or Indiana or, I don't know, Iowa or Nebraska. These are small towns typically, rural towns. Why is it that Jews think they need to control my politics in my little town? And especially national organizations like this. What are you doing here? Why are you here? To insult us? To oppress us? To preach about morality when our government has nothing to do with you? Go back to New York or wherever your hellhole you came out of and just, why don't you crawl back under that rock? Because what we do here is not your business. And Jews want to make it their business. And then they want to complain when people start making it their business. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it does because I know ignorant, stupid people obviously do ignorant, stupid things. In the way of Jews, they call it chutzpah. And the chutzpah for them has gotten to overreach like on steroids. And they just don't want to stop. Can you imagine? See, we should put into place very, very clear types of laws. I call it domicile laws. Wherever the money is raised for any political position, it must be raised within the domicile. Meaning that if it's for a city council, all the money must come from that city council and nowhere else. Nowhere. If it's a county, it must come from that county and nowhere else. If it's from a state, nowhere else. There's zero reason why Georgia ADL should be influencing an election in, let's say, some smaller town in Northern California or Montana. They have no business being there, and they should not be allowed to send their money to Northern California or to Montana or to Idaho. For what? You're in Georgia. Your business is Georgia, not Montana, not California, not Iowa, frickin' Georgia. Mind your business. Stay there. If you want to create a hellhole in Georgia, create your multiracial Georgia and Atlanta or Atlanta, Georgia, and go ahead and ruin your country. Go ahead. Because we all know that the anti-Semitism is going to come because of the problems you're creating. But stay out of California. Stay out of everywhere. What are you doing there? And this is the thing that we don't talk a lot about, but it's very true. Why? First, okay, if we're going to play the international pact game, we should be looking at targeting every Jewish group out there, every pro-Jewish group. Ultimately, you've got numbers. Okay, you have the numbers. What do you think? Everybody's pro-Israel right now? No. Everybody's pro-Jewish right now? No. And I know it's hard if you're in Germany or you're in Spain or you're in whatever, because most of your leaders that are actually rising up above the waves, so to speak, they're being targeted via lawfare to take them back down. It happened in Romania. They tried to do it in Hungary. They tried to do it in the Czech Republic. They've tried to actually ban or outlaw, let's say, the AFD, and I'm not even sure the AFD is really that great. But at the end of the day, it seems like a more rational alternative to the nonsense that's going on in Germany nowadays. And Starmer, my goodness, Starmer, he looks like an idiot. He looks like a moron, basically. He looks like somebody that maybe dallied a little bit in maybe some, I don't know, some little boy stuff. He looks like that type of guy. He looks like one of those pro-Zionist, right-wing, purportedly Christian pastors that basically is a cover for a homosexual. That's what kind of like Starmer looks like. Is that to say he is? No. But we're saying that's what he looks like. See, maybe you're not, but you look like it. Is it my fault you look that way, dude? No, it's not my fault. It's not my fault you act like some petty little punk. Every time you get criticized, oh, we need to arrest this guy. And imagine the tyranny going on everywhere. In the UK, I don't even know if I have any UK listeners left. You know what I mean? It's so bad in the UK, I would not be surprised that the UK listeners have all just vanished and disappeared. They don't want to be caught listening to the Fetch. Could be criminal. It's that bad in the UK. And we in America should be demanding justice for people who are imprisoned in Western Europe. We spent all that money just so a bunch of Bolshevik nonsense morons can start jailing everybody just because, they criticized us? And we're all Israel firsters? Oh my goodness. See, these guys will stop at nothing for power.
Let us build a coalition so strong, so united, so determined that no extremist movement can fracture it. And above all, let us be bridge builders, unshakable. Any candidate running for a seat.
The guy is sitting there saying he's going to target everybody that doesn't agree with his ideas, yet he's going to call somebody else the extremist. What an abusive prick that guy is. It's like, excuse me, dude? Are you serious? You're going to go out of your way to actually call people extremists for wanting their own point of view? I mean, what type of where do these morons come from with this language? And you know what's funny? You look at them and they think they're so intelligent. Wow, I said the word extremist. I said the word extremist on a speech. Wow, did you see my yarmulke? Yeah, it's got that silver lining today. Yeah, that was my go-to yarmulke, man. Wow. How'd it come off? You used the word extremist. Oh, great. Yeah, Shlomo, that was a great use, man. Wow. You know what? We really know English. We're geniuses at English. No, do you know what I mean? At some point, all of this is being done by, what does they say? It's all being done by words, inflections of voice, etc. And this is where it's all coming from. And frankly, take back control of your language. Take back the meanings of your language. Don't let it drift. Listen, if you want to call Zodiac, right? Zodiac is very simple. Zodiac, you can let them explain away what Zodiac is, but at the end of the day, excuse me, you're making an anagram for CADOIZ, and that's 3.1415926. It's pie in the sky. Because you can control your language. You can start to control the definitions, control the meanings. Because it's all based on math, and they can say all they want, but you're never going to change the fact that Zodiac is the basically scrambled up letters that will make up 3.1415926. I don't give a crap what they call it. Because that's what it is. What is. They have a guy here. It's IAC. I don't know what IAC is, okay? CEO, his name is Ilan Carr. He's a former LA prosecutor and a military officer who previously served as the U.S. Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. Why are we paying for this crap? This is what we call political wokeism. This is no different than paying for the diversity hires that you might have for, like, in the LGBT side, LGBTQ, is that it? Side of things? Yeah, this stuff about, This stuff about going after anti-Semitism, guys, this is just political wokeism. It's and remember, everything that is woke turns to shit. So everything about this agenda is going to turn to shit for everybody, Jews included, which I won't mind so much. But here's this guy. He's a special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. That is a woke position. Okay? He's now directing U.S. policy and programs aimed at combating Jew hatred. Oh, what an abusive term that is. What a completely, insanely stupid sounding thing that is. Who's going to even know what that is? Jew hatred. You know what I hate? The fact that they came up with that term. Does that mean I'm filled with Jew hatred? Well, yeah, that was a stupid thing to say. So, yeah, I hate the fact that they're so stupid. What do you want me to do about it? We're supposed to love idiocy? Because nobody comes up with that term. What an arrogant, offensive term to go around using in public. Oh, Jew hatred. Oh, shut the hell up, you freaking anti-human, whatever you want to call these guys. And this guy, he's not even American, really. He's trained in Israel. So, okay, why do we have Israeli-trained people essentially policing Americans? ADL says, hey, we got 20,000 people now we've been out there training. So, you know, I think in America anyways, we can't speak for the UK and France, etc. But it's really that. Is it going to be America first or Israel first? If it's Trump, it's Israel first. If it's the Trump administration, it's Israel first. Okay. So you've gotten Trump in. Have we gotten some wins out of it? Sure. 100%. A lot of wins. But it came with a price. And that price was we still had to sell the American soul to Israel. That was the price. And did we get some wins subsurface? Yeah, I think we got a lot of wins subsurface. I think we should be very realistic here. We did get some wins, and we will probably get some more wins. Will we get the Epstein files cleared out? Hell no, because that's at the heart of Jewish power. It's at the heart of Central Intelligence power, so to speak. But ultimately, American conservatives, American liberals, everything to do with American politics is going to have to make a decision. Because it doesn't matter if you're really a liberal per se. Ultimately, at the top of that food chain up there, it's the Jews who have your power. It's Israel that runs the country. Obviously, if you're on the right, you're in a better position than the left, because the left is basically deteriorated to nothing. You can see them, I guess you can see them making a last stand in Minneapolis, and Trump is going to try to put that insurrection down, if you want to call it an insurrection. But ultimately, you know, you have power in the right, and you need to use it, but you need to not be afraid to go after Jewish power. You just can't do it. And then you have Trump, right? Trump, let's see if I can pull this story up. Recent pardon. Trump just recently pardoned a guy, right? And this is a Jewish guy. Let's see. Yeah, they booked it with a lot of other people. See what date this is. You don't like ad blockers? Well, I need to block you from Forbes. Goodbye. You know what I've started to do nowadays? If I do a web search and you put an ad blocker saying unless you don't want to use your ad blocker, you can't see our stories, I just go in. I use DuckDuckGo, and I know it's just, I just don't use Google. And I just say block this site from all results. Just goodbye. Okay, goodbye. You don't need to be seen by us. All right, let me see. U.S. Department of Justice. But I know this guy, I don't know what he was, Jewish guy. Took a lot of years to get this guy put into jail, and Trump pardoned him like in 3 months. And, if you work for the Department of Justice and you work hard to put somebody away, and then you see your boss basically saying, hey, man, sorry about that. Didn't mean to jail you, but we had to let justice take its course. But now I'll let you go. Here's your pardon. It's got to infuriate the people in the Department of Justice. I mean, I can't imagine how the people of justice would actually find that to be acceptable. Essentially, it's a slap in the face to the Department of Justice. You work hard to go after somebody, and you just they just basically turn their heads on you and say, okay, too bad. We're letting this guy go. And frankly, it's wrong, but that's how it works here. So can't get into that one. That one's too much of a clip there. But yeah, the anti-Semitism charge, I'm going all over. And I don't know who this Kastenbaum is, but this is the Jewish guy calling on sending everybody to jail if they don't agree with Jews. Yeah, basically Jews have become little tyrants. Have you noticed that? They're just little tyrants. I can't even go. Let's see. See the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. It's basically a Romanian group. And it is literally being used as a weapon to silence speech all over the world. Mamdani actually cut it down. That was actually good. That was something he did very well. But here's Stu Peters. Stu Peters is always, he's like one of our...
The State Department definition claims that stating that a particular Jewish person has more loyalty to the state of Israel than they do to their own country is necessarily an example of anti-Semitism, where the truth is that that's one of the fundamental premises of Zionism. And if you go back and look at the statement, say, of Theodor Herzl, who's wrote really what's considered the founding text of Zionism, he argued very clearly that Jews are one people, and therefore it's useless for them to be patriots to the countries in which they reside. The State Department definition...
Yeah, see, that's actually very true. I have not met too many Jews who are actually patriots to their country. They are working very hard to maybe help the country that they are living in because they have benefits from it. But ultimately, Israel comes first, so they're going to sacrifice the country for Israel. And I think we've seen that very much so in the Trump administration. Israel is becoming first. I understand with the Iranians that the Iranians are saying, hey, look, basically there's no difference between America and Israel. And if Israel comes over, we're going to attack both now. And, hello, sweetie. Come on. All right. She's been crazy the past 2 weeks. Just crazy.
Say that. Good morning, Rimmer. You're under arrest for Section 12 of the Terrorism Act, okay? You don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you don't mention one question, something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Okay, necessity for that is going to be to prompt and effective investigation and to prevent harm. Right. We need to conduct a research. Let's keep this simple.
Yeah, this is the Israeli police coming in and arresting this doctor. She's apparently a fairly famous doctor, Dr. Rameh, something like that, for posts on X that opposed Israel. Can you imagine in Europe right now, especially the UK, you can actually go to jail, and you probably will if you oppose Israel in your country. Can you imagine? I can't actually imagine that. So to me, England is not controlled by the British people. I can't imagine the British people saying, yeah, as a British, I think we need to jail everybody who's opposed to Israel. Yeah, that's bloody well. That would be fantastic. Yes, bloody well. We need to do that. No, it means it's controlled by the Israelis. It's controlled by Jewish people. again, now how do you get out of that mess? You know, Trump with his speech, he's talking about how, you know, these politicians, they don't seem to know what's going on. Trump, they know exactly what's going on. The problem is nobody wants to speak about the real issue. It's a Jewish agenda. It's a Jewish conspiracy. That is, quote unquote, anti-Semitic. Okay, well, that's an offensive statement. That is actually an abusive thing to say to us. Who are you to even make that charge? Excuse me. You should be taking that back. That is so abusive, so offensive. What the hell are you saying something like that for? Do you think because you're Jewish you can just go ahead and spit in everybody's faces with all this nonsense that you like to scream and whine about on literally a 24/7 circuit? I mean, what is the matter with you Jewish people? Anti-Semite? What the hell is that? I mean, what are you, an Uber Jew or just a normal Jew? Where does this come from? Is that Uber Jew stuff or normal Jew stuff? You know, somewhere it has to be pushed back. And imagine, Jews are so vindictive, they're actually using the power of the state to go after people right now. I mean, literally, you can't make this stuff up. They're literally using the instruments of state to go after people. There was a rabbi we saw talking about Islam and Christianity. What happened was that long time ago I did a Sheikh Imran Hussein. He's a former Trinidad and Tobago foreign minister, something like that. And he came on my show. It was probably one of the biggest interviews I've ever done. This was like 2012. On one of the sites I saw, it had 22,000, 25,000 views just for an interview, which to me is unheard of. Nowadays, guys, this is before algorithms, okay? This was back when I had a YouTube channel and it could actually work. Now I don't even get one view. You know, you post a video there, not one view on my YouTube channel. But it's okay. I use it just as a horse, basically, to cut down on the bandwidth so I can post over at BitChute. But nonetheless, he said that in the Muslim Islamic eschatology, at the end of days, the Christians and the Muslims are going to unite. And they're going to overthrow Satan, which is the Jewish people. And I saw a rabbi speaking the other week. He was saying something to the effect that, you know, we got to keep this Christian-Muslim hatred going because if they ever unite, as Jewish people, we're finished. So they know the game. The eschatologists at the highest levels of Islam know the game. The Christians don't seem to get it. You know what I mean? They don't seem to get it. So if they ever do get it and they start to work with the pragmatists on the Islamic side, I'm not talking about the criminals and the sleaze that you might get. You know, every society has their unique properties. But work with the intelligentsia. Yeah. You know, people get it. At a very high level, people get it. The Jews are dangerous people. They're very, very, very cunning, but they're very dangerous. You know, they're not cunning in a good way. They're cunning in the most evil way you can think of. There was this French woman, and her name is Nancy. So she basically drew swastikas and slurs outside her own house, claiming she was a victim of anti-Semitism. So a Jewish woman paints swastikas and anti-Jewish stuff on her door, on her stairwell, going to her house. Now she's facing jail time. They should throw the book at her. Frankly, if you're going to throw the book at people who criticize Israel, throw the book at this woman. Let it be a lesson to everybody. 15 years. We don't need this type of trash in our society. After that, revoke her citizenship, send her back to Israel. I don't know if you can actually do that, but it'd be something to consider. Trump here, he says now that he assured his Jewish donors that he's working on the important things, very important. The primary issue for Trump right now is fighting mean words on college campuses. You know, you can't say anything mean to basically Jewish people. It says here, college campuses that refuse to defend their Jewish students from vile acts of anti-Semitism, which are generally mean words.
Promise.
In this case, he's going to go
Just as I
after you.
promised, we're deporting the foreign jihadist sympathizers and Hamas supporters from our country, and it's happening very quickly. Upon taking office, I signed a historic executive order directing every department and agency in the federal government to do everything in their power to end the scourge of anti-Semitism in America.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but we've been in the anti-Semitic debate for like probably 20 years. I remember when they came up with this term, the scourge, you know, like in 2002, 2003, they started to push this thing. And can you imagine? It took them 20 years, but they're actually able to get this thing pushed through now to where the memes and the phrases that they came up with in the very earliest of the internet days are literally being used to project onto our societies today. And it took them really 20 years to really get it out there. They actually have a president dumb enough to actually push this crap in public. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine, frankly, going up and saying, the scourge of anti. And you know, when Trump gets into these monotonic type of speaks, it's like, yeah, man, dude, you're boring. You know, it's like he gets in his, like that whole WEF speech was so monotonic. I've done everything. I've solved 7 wars, 8 wars. The Pakistan-India thing, that was a doozy. Mr. President Putin, he calls me, and he wants to make a deal. He thinks we're working really hard. He likes our deal with Pakistan. He's really working hard. And I told President Putin, don't worry about this war. You just go handle your own war. And he's like just going on and on, like, and it was like the whole time. And NATO is there, and we've done everything for NATO. NATO could not exist without our awesomeness, and if we didn't have our awesomeness, and it's like, I gotta freaking listen to this whole freaking speech. Guy just droning on like a robot, like, yeah, that was an annoying speech, to be honest with you. Frankly, hey, if you're listening here. On Rumble, I think we're going to call it now. It looks like we've tired out. Everybody's been like 13 years or 13 hours, it feels like, you know, something like that. So anyways, we're going to call it. It's 10:37 local time. I got to go feed cats. Important stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and cut it. But we do appreciate you coming in. Don't forget to like and share the video. I don't know if I should even say that. That sounds kind of silly. But nonetheless, that's the video world. Don't forget to like and share the video. Help the algorithm. And I don't even think they have an algorithm here. But we appreciate you coming in. And again, thanks for listening. It's The Fetch. We're going to say goodnight from Riyadh. And thanks again. Good night.